Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, she keyed her boyfriend's car.
You think I care? I don't care anymore.
Quit hitting him.
I've lost my mind.
Got a restraining order.
Are you afraid of him?
Yes.
But she keeps coming back to him.
In fact, you were intimate with him last night, correct?
Yes.
Your daughter and I had sex every day, like yesterday, like this morning, like all the time.
Oh my God.
You sexually assaulted her.
I did not sexually assault her.
You look my wife in the eyes and use your fingers to illustrate that you've had our daughter.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. We have all heard the phrase, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, right? Well, Autumn says she was called a crazy, jealous girlfriend after a video went viral of her keying her ex-boyfriend's car. Take a look.
You think I care? I don't care anymore.
Quit hitting him.
I've lost my mind.
Quit hitting.
Give a
Oh, you don't need to give a That's cool. I got video proof of you doing this. You're crazy, bro. You're crazy. Let me leave. You have me blocked in. Let me leave. You're kidnapping me. Let me leave. Leave me alone. Let me leave.
Well, Autumn says the video, which appeared on multiple websites and social media pages, got over 2 million views in just one day. What people didn't see was what led up to that moment. Autumn claims she was pushed to the point of insanity after being stuck in a cycle of abuse for almost 2 years, where she says her ex-boyfriend beat her, choked her, and sexually assaulted her on more than one occasion. Take a look.
My relationship with DeAndre has been just a roller coaster. DeAndre is probably the most jealous person I've ever met. DeAndre goes crazy when he's not in control. He starts bashing me, calling me like a whore. In January, DeAndre and I had gotten into an argument about some deleted messages off my phone. He would grab me by his hands and throw me on the bed as hard as he could. And he would just choke me. He would headbutt me as hard as he could. He'd just take his fist and dig it into my head. And then he would just pick me up and throw me on the wall. He would push my face up against the wall so loud that I could hear my jaw crack and my ears would ring. I ran out of the apartment and I hid under the stairs. The maintenance man called the police. They arrested him for aggravated assault. After that incident, I did get back with DeAndre. One time I told him that I didn't want to be with him anymore. He told me that he was like gonna kill me. He told me that he's murdered someone before and that they wouldn't find me if he murdered me. Last September, I remember having some drinks at the hookah bar. The next thing I remember, I woke up and I was at DeAndre's house. I had a black eye. I just had bruises everywhere, and I don't remember a thing.
My wife and I got a phone call. It's one of those phone calls that you never want to get as a parent. Help me, I'm being held against my will.
She was at DeAndre's. Her leg was bleeding. She had blood on her face.
Both of her eyes are swollen. She's got blood coming out of her nose. And I ran to her, and I remember I got a hold of her, and I helped her to my truck.
We took her to the ER. Autumn did not want to press charges. I think Autumn dropped the charges because she thought he was sorry.
The police officer told me that he was familiar with DeAndre and that I needed to get my daughter away from this person. I was absolutely terrified to hear this.
I now know that DeAndre is the one who beat me up that night. He's admitted it to me. On May 4th, I keyed DeAndre's car, and we got in a really heated argument. Things got physical between us.
think I care. I don't care anymore.
Quit hitting me.
I've lost my
Quit
mind.
hitting me.
He had made me spend so much money, like just breaking things, punching holes in the walls, breaking my phone multiple times. I was frustrated, and I just wanted to make him have to spend money so he could see how I felt.
When the video went viral, I saw a lot of people commenting on my photos, telling me to kill myself, that I'm crazy.
I know that DeAndre is the one who sent it out with intentions of me looking crazy.
I was made out to look like I'm a crazy psycho person who just did it because he cheated on me, and that's not what happened. I am not a psycho who keyed his car. I was a victim of abuse.
They arrested me for domestic violence and vandalism. It's not fair that I'm the one who has to suffer and he's the one who looks like the victim in the situation.
You think I care? I don't care anymore.
Okay, Autumn, you wrote in, correct?
Yes.
Tell me what motivated you to do that. What's your goal?
The video going viral really motivated me to reach out to you so I could tell my side of the story.
Okay, and your side of the story is what? Let's just get that out at the very top.
That I was a victim of abuse.
Okay, so he has abused you.
Yes.
And he admits that, by the way, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's admitted that to us. He says he's choked you, he's hit you. I mean, I have a list I can go through later, but let's just stipulate that he's admitted that he has abused your daughter. So you say he's abused you, he admits that he's abused you, and so you wanted to get that out. And this has been going on for how long?
Almost 2 years.
Okay. Has he sexually assaulted you?
Be
Yes.
honest.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, and he's hit you. You gave details. He's thrown you up against the wall. You thought your jaw was cracking. You've been bloodied. You've been beaten. These are bruises and pictures of him grabbing you and throwing you around, throwing you on the bed, throwing you on the floor, throwing you into the wall, drug you around by your feet. I mean, just really very vicious things. You have a restraining order against him now, correct?
Yes.
So the restraining order says that he's not to be within any contact with you at all. He can't talk to you, he can't stalk you, he can't harass you. It's a no contact order, right? In fact, he can't even be here right now. You know, here's what the order of protection says. It says the petitioner, Autumn, respondent, DeAndre, petitioner's relationship to respondent. The respondent has stalked me. The respondent has sexually assaulted me. The court orders the respondent to not abuse or threaten to abuse the petitioner, not stalk or threaten to stalk the petitioner. Other orders to the respondent: no contact must not come about. The petitioner must not contact the petitioner, either directly or indirectly, by phone, email messages, text messages, mail, or any other type of communication or contact. So you got him shut off in that way, right?
Yeah.
Right? So why have you been with him all weekend while you were here?
He just sucks me back in.
Because we actually assigned security, right? Because we wanted to, we're not party to this court order, so we're under no obligation whatsoever for the court order, but I grew up in the litigation arena, so I respect court orders, so I won't even allow him to be here. I won't allow y'all to violate that in any way. So there are certain stipulations of who can hear what and who can watch what, and I won't even violate that. He won't be on this stage while you're here or you while he's here, because I just respect the court's orders. But apparently you don't, and he doesn't, because you've snuck away and been with him multiple times over the last few days, correct?
Yes.
In fact, you were intimate with him last night, correct?
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on in our daughter's mind, where she thinks it's okay to go and meet up with somebody who's openly expressed that he has a desire to kill her. He's threatened to slit her throat.
And later,
I don't respect you, sir. I don't respect racist people.
I was hoping he would say something even more stupid than what you've already said.
I would be very, very careful if I were you.
Wednesday.
Collier was 11 when he heard his mom being murdered by his own father.
A child's testimony.
I heard a thud.
A hidden body.
My father rented the jackhammer days before the murder. It was completely premeditated.
A pregnant mistress.
Sherry showed up at his house right after his mother went missing.
A search for answers.
I did not kill Noreen.
This is a psychopath.
Then on Thursday, she says a catfish is using her husband's image.
50 women have been conned.
Get ready for an unexpected twist.
The catfish is here.
That's Thursday.
What do y'all think's going on here? Why, Dad, why do you think it's okay with her to be treated that way to the point of fearing for her life, and then she sneaks away and goes to be with him?
That's what we're here to find out. We're trying to figure out what's going on in our daughter's mind, where she thinks it's okay to put her safety at risk, where she thinks it's okay to go and meet up with somebody who's openly expressed that he has a desire to kill her. He's threatened to slit her throat. He's held her down and choked her out with her shoelaces. We don't understand as her parents why she continues to return to this relationship, why she allows herself to be subjected to this abuse. We're at a loss, and that's why we came here and agreed to meet with you at her request, because we're trying to figure out how to save our daughter. I don't know how else to say this, but I'm convinced, and I've told her this many times, and my wife can attest to this, he's gonna take her life. There's no doubt in my mind. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't, then she's gonna take her own. Because this beautiful, strong young lady that we raised, who was so sure of her path and who was so ambitious, has turned into this person who all of a sudden over the last couple of months talks about suicide all the time. Talks about how she feels like this guy's gonna take her life all the time. We absolutely are at a loss for why she returns to the relationship. I have my own suspicions based on some previous experiences with law enforcement and the cycle of domestic violence, but to see your own child in it, rather than responding to somebody who's a victim, is just, it's so different. I can't explain the gravity associated with your daughter calling you at 2 a.m. in the morning and screaming over the phone that she thinks somebody's gonna kill her, and then the phone cuts off and you don't even know where she's at.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about what he's saying?
I mean, he's telling the truth.
Were you raised to value yourself?
Yes.
Were you treated with dignity and respect in your home?
Yes.
Did they value you?
Yes.
Was your home chaotic?
I mean, at times, but not like out of the normal chaos of families.
What's your take on this, Mom?
I'm scared. Very scared.
That wasn't your plan when you got into this relationship, was it?
No, I really loved him at first. I've never loved anyone as much as I love him. That would be like the love of your life. After a year of being with him, start to act like that. You would be a little confused.
Is there any part of your mindset that makes you believe you deserve what he's doing to you?
I mean, sometimes I think that if I wouldn't have just not said that, or if I wouldn't have done that, then it would be okay. And he wouldn't have acted like that, and then we would be perfect.
So you blame yourself for provoking?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Sometimes I do.
So some of this you put on yourself?
Yes.
Because you think you poke him?
Yeah. I think that I just bring out the worst in him sometimes.
Do you think any woman deserves to be hit, sexually assaulted, life threatened?
No.
I mean, no matter what you say or do, I mean, that's not a reason, that's not a proportionate reaction, is it?
No.
I mean, what you're doing. Have you talked about killing yourself?
Yes.
Is that a way out?
Sometimes I feel like that.
Yeah. Do you want to die? Or do you just want this to stop?
I just want to be happy.
Yeah. Are you afraid of him?
Yes. Sometimes it's almost like he's like two different people.
There were times during the last few days that you would see the security guard that was assigned to protect you, and you would see him and run from him. You would run from your protection.
I didn't know until today that he was following me, actually.
I'm sorry?
He did a good job of staying in the shadows. I didn't even see him.
You've certainly given him the slip over the last few days, whether it's you or DeAndre or whoever. You guys have lost him 2 or 3 times, and he's had to catch up with you and find you.
I didn't even notice he was following me.
And I'm asking because I'm trying to find out just how much you're really wanting to resolve this one way or the other, or if it's just a big game to you. Because I'm concerned for you. Autumn had accused you and her mother of starving and physically abusing her as a child.
When I was kicked out, I was starving. I did lose about 35 pounds.
And later,
we've had sex every day, countless times, like yesterday.
I'm going to just tell you that by the grace of God in heaven, I was unable to find you.
So you're going to kill me?
Next Wednesday.
My mom has always been a hoarder. Oh, God. I'm stepping in animal feces.
as a child, there were times when you didn't even have a clean place to sleep.
Yeah.
That's her perspective.
There aren't versions of the truth. There's either a sanitary room or there's not.
That's next Wednesday.
Edward, how are you?
Good, yourself?
Have there been intentional efforts to evade your protection over the weekend?
I did feel like they were trying to stay away because they knew they were being followed.
Uh-huh. And who initiated the contact between you and DeAndre over the weekend?
He did. He kept asking me to come hang out with him.
And did you know that she did?
Yeah, she let us know that he had reached out to her and that he had texted her or sent her a text message that he wanted to meet up at a local dispensary.
Marijuana dispensary.
Yeah, so that they could smoke marijuana and just do whatever.
Which is real disrespect for you.
It is. And as her father, I mean, and her mother, we talked to her about not doing it, asked her, basically begged her not to do this, not to put herself in this situation again. And it was...
What'd she tell you?
The response was aggressive, and basically she was a grown woman taking some of the words out, and that she could do whatever she wanted to do, and let her know that she had security watching her. She said that she thought that was a lie, that she didn't believe me, that you guys wouldn't do that to, and I think her words were invade her privacy. And so I tried to explain to her, sweetheart, that it's not about invading your privacy, it's about protecting you. This cycle that you're trapped in is going to catch up to you sooner than you realize. And we need somebody there, if you won't let us be there, to step in on our behalf and potentially save you from this person when he decides to trigger
it's been very busy. We were contacted by you at 3:48 p.m. on Sunday saying that Autumn had left the hotel and that we needed to do something on our end to make sure that things were safe. 5:11 p.m. you call someone on our staff and said that your father told you needed to get to the hotel or we were going to cancel the show. 5:21, you call a producer saying that Autumn had cursed you out and told him she did not need to tell you where she was at. 7:06 p.m., you call the producer again and said that she was walking around L.A. and the team told her that they would provide her an Uber to get her back to the hotel. We hadn't talked to you. Nobody told you we were going to get you an Uber back to the hotel, correct?
I was just going to get an Uber myself.
Yeah, but you told him we told you that we were going to do that, which is not true. At 7:45, the staff member got in touch with you, and you said you went to a dispensary, and so we told you that. Then at 8:06 p.m., you called a producer and told him that Autumn was back at the hotel but would not tell you where she had been. Then it starts again at 8:18 in the morning. You said that Autumn had accused you and her mother of starving and physically abusing her as a child. And that, I'm sorry?
You said who said that?
You said that.
Yeah, I told them about the conversation that we had at breakfast.
I didn't accuse you of starving me, but when I was kicked out, I was starving, and I didn't have a bed for a year. I slept in DeAndre's bed. He provided me a bed, provided me a car when I wrecked mine. He provided me a shower curtain and things to eat out of and things to eat with when my sister took off with all of that. And he replaced it for me because I had no money and no money to even buy food. So definitely didn't have money to replace all the stuff that my sister took from me. I didn't accuse you of starving me as a child. I was well fed growing up in your home. But when I was kicked out, I was starving. I did lose about 35 pounds.
Did you accuse him of physically abusing you as a child?
Yes.
Did they?
No, but I was punished, I feel like.
So they didn't physically abuse you as a child?
No.
You just accused them of it? I mean, I got pages of this. I mean, we've spent a lot of time talking back and forth. Well, you know what? We're going to take a break. Autumn is going to leave the stage due to the protection order, so I can talk to, well, I was going to say her ex-boyfriend, but based on the activities of the last few days, I don't think I can call it an ex-boyfriend, but I don't know what you want it to be, and we're going to help you figure that out, because I want you to have what you want. And I know it's not easy always to get there. And I don't want to judge that. I want to help you achieve it, whatever it is you want, and we'll figure that out before we're done. So DeAndre is here, so we're going to meet him next. We're going to hear what Sean has to say to him when they have an opportunity to chat about this. We'll be right back.
Autumn is crazy. She keyed my car. She has anger issues. This is the order of protection. Me and Autumn cannot stay away from each other. 3 days ago, we was having sex in my vehicle. It was good sex.
I am at the end of my rope. I want DeAndre to know if he truly loves my daughter, then he needs to let her go.
What would I say if DeAndre was sitting across from me right now? What gives you the right to hurt my child? And how much longer do you think you can get away with it before somebody holds you accountable for your actions?
Well, I spoke to Autumn in the last segment, but she's had to leave the stage as the protection order states that she and DeAndre cannot be in contact. Now, however, since being in LA, we've learned that Autumn broke that protection order. DeAndre broke that protection order because they ran off to see each other. Now, the man that she claims has beaten and assaulted her is who she's been running off to see. Autumn's parents claim that one time they picked their daughter up from DeAndre's house and she was beaten to the point where she had blood coming out of her nose and her mouth. Now, even though DeAndre admits that he has choked Autumn about 6 times, he says he has gone to anger management and feels that that has really helped him a lot. Take a look.
Autumn and I have an abusive relationship, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Autumn is crazy. Autumn and I met a year and a half ago. One day I was on social media scrolling, and I was like, ooh, who is this baddie? Baddie means she's cute. I was like, hey, you should come hang out with me. She was like, oh, I would love to. I stayed with Autumn because she's my homie. For two, I kind of like crazy girls. When Autumn I fight, the fights get out of hand. I choked Autumn probably around 6 times throughout our relationship. The first time I choked Autumn, I was at her house. She was screaming at me, and I choked her. And I picked her up, I took her to her room, and I slammed her on her bed. I ended up in jail for aggravated domestic assault. I've never raped Autumn. The night of the sexual assault, we had sex. After that, she was like, let me call my dad. I would grab her wrist, and I was like pushing on her head and everything. So I was like, I don't want you calling your dad. Like, this is definitely not the greatest way for me to meet your father.
You think I care? I don't care anymore.
On the night of the incident when Autumn keyed my car, she went through my phone, saw some messages that she didn't like, kicked me out, took my money when I left. I took her phone. She followed me, and she was, I'm sick of this. And she keyed my car. She has anger issues. This is the order of protection. This order of protection came about because me and Autumn cannot stay away from each other. 3 days ago, we was having sex in my vehicle. It was good sex. She blames me for everything. She blames me for all of her problems. I spend more time with her than I do any other person on this earth. After you build that trust, you really want to try and like make things work, and hopefully everything at the end will get better. Sometimes I'm just like, maybe not. Maybe I should just slide.
Okay, now you've been listening to everything so far, correct?
Yes, sir.
But now she can't listen to anything you're saying because of it's just the way the protection order works. So you've been hearing what she said, but she can't listen to what you say.
Yes, sir.
Now, y'all have met?
Yes, sir.
How do you feel about what he was just saying on his tape piece about saying, yeah, I've choked her about 6 times, thrown her against the wall, the bed, whatever. We're talking about your daughter.
You know what I think that I and everybody else that's watching this right now probably also thinks, but I don't want to speak for them. I'll speak for myself because I'm a grown man. And by the way, men don't hit women. You understand that? Don't.
If men don't,
I'm going to be respectful to you, so you let me finish.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then I'll give you your opportunity. I think you've more than a fair turn at my family, so you just be patient. Why do you think that it's okay for you to hit my daughter or any other woman?
Why do you think it's okay for you to hit your daughter, sir?
Answer my question.
Why do you think it's okay for you to hit your daughter,
My
sir?
daughter's already come out here and said that that's never happened.
I understand that. However, your daughter is also very afraid of you.
Right, so you can't answer the question.
So you didn't drag her out the house by her hair?
No, I did not.
Okay, let me ask you something.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you something. Let's assume, hypothetically, that that's correct.
Yes.
I'm saying it hypothetically. I'm not agreeing with that.
Yes, it's correct.
What the hell does that have to do with you doing it? You think because someone else has violated her at some point in the past, that gives you license to do so?
No, sir. I just believe that.
What the hell are you saying?
I believe that the way he's coming at me, he's saying who does that. However, he does the exact same thing.
Well, what's that got to do with what you do? You're a man on what you're doing.
It has nothing to do with what I'm doing. I take full responsibility for what I have.
Well, then take responsibility for it and don't point the finger at him. If you're putting your hands on a woman, that's a cowardly thing to do.
Yes, sir.
What are you doing?
Yes, sir. I pushed her head up on the door. I was screaming at her, and she's like punching me, kicking me. We get back to my house. We did our thing.
What does Autumn see in you? Oh, my God.
You're saying you've choked her, you've thrown her against the wall, you've done this and that. What gives you license to do that? The fact that somebody else did it?
Yeah, I have no right to do it, and I know that it's wrong to do it, and I shouldn't be doing it. However, I do have a problem. I do want to get better. I have been working on my problem, and I'm confessing that I have a problem, and I know that I have a problem, and I've been trying to address the problem, and I've been trying to get better. That's why I put out my camera. If I saw a girl, before I took my anger management class, there's no way I would watch a girl key my car. And there's another video where she jumps on my back. She's like, fight me, why don't you fight me? Like, and I'm getting antagonized. I have anger issues. Like, I'm still working on trying to get better. I know that I do need help, and I'm seeking help, and I want more help.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. Did they talk to you about accountability?
No, sir.
Anger management, they didn't talk to you about being accountable for yourself?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They did talk about that?
Yes, sir.
Because your first thing when I asked you about it was to say, you do it too. So that's not being accountable.
Yes,
You're saying, instead of saying, I'm going to own what I did, you want to talk about what someone else allegedly did.
Yes, sir.
Because you don't know what somebody else did. You don't know whether she did it or not. Because if you believe that she tells the truth.
Well, this is what happened. One time, her mother barged into her house when me and Autumn was not supposed to be over there. And Autumn tried to defend me to her mom. And she said, you know how Dad smacks me around sometimes, like trying to defend me? And that's when I was like, this isn't okay. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. And the fact that her father does it, I feel like that's part of the reason why she keeps coming back to me. And she thinks it's okay for people to put her hands on her.
So you think she's, for whatever problem you have, you think she's at least honest? She wouldn't say that if it wasn't true.
Oh, definitely not. I feel like she's really afraid of her parents, and she tells me that her parents are very judgmental about the stuff that goes on with them.
And you believe what she says is true?
I believe what she tells me is true.
So when she says that you sexually assaulted her, then that would be true too?
Under conditions, I did not sexually assault her. No, I did not sexually assault her, but...
Well, when do we believe her? Do we believe when she's talking about someone else, but not about you?
She believes she was. Under the circumstances, she believes that she was. She does not doubt that she was sexually assaulted.
Okay, well, let's talk about what you said about the night.
All right.
You said that you, on the 10th of September in 2017, you picked Autumn up from a club.
Yeah.
This is what you said, that you found her passed out in a car with some unknown man.
Yes, sir.
And that you finally were able to wake her up, and she fell to her knees when she got out of the car.
Yeah, when she picked up, she fell down.
Yeah. And that you put her in your car to drive home, and somewhere along the way you slammed on the brakes and Autumn hit her head on the window or the dashboard.
Yes, sir.
You slammed on the brakes on purpose?
Yes.
And why did you do that?
Because I was like, who is that guy you was with? And she was like, what guy? I don't know who you're talking about. I slammed on the brakes. I started screaming. I was like, who is that guy you was with? I pushed her head up on the door. I was screaming at her, and she's like punching me, kicking me. And I grab her wrist. I forcefully push her into the backseat, and then I take off driving. We get back to my house, and then we're just laying down, because by then I'm cooled down.
Okay, so you assaulted her in the car because
Yes,
you were
sir.
jealous about her being with somebody else?
No, sir. I was mad that she kept lying to me.
So she got out of the car and fell backwards onto the grass, and then you took her inside,
Yes, sir.
changed her clothes, put a Band-Aid on her knee.
Yes, sir. Because her knee was bleeding. I didn't realize her knee was bleeding until we got to my house, and then that's when I changed her clothes. I put a Band-Aid on her knee, and then we laid down in the bed, and we was laying down for a little bit, and then, like, she started rubbing her butt up against me, and then that's when we did what we had to do. We did our thing, you know.
Yeah. Okay,
And then-
she woke up an hour later and started freaking out.
Yes,
and
sir.
screaming and
Yes,
called
sir.
her dad to come
and then,
and get her.
And then that's when she was like, I want to call my dad. And I was like, this isn't like an ideal situation for me to meet your father. Like, I don't want to meet your father like this.
So she was, but when you found her, she was passed out and incapacitated. When you found her in the car, passed out.
Yeah, she
At
was
the club.
asleep. She was asleep.
Yeah. And you said, you said she was passed out and she fell to her knees when she got out of the car.
Yes, sir.
So, and she thinks maybe she had been roofied.
Yes,
by
sir.
this other guy.
Yes, and then she told me that afterwards, her dad picked her up. That's when she told me that she didn't remember anything and that she had been roofied. And that's when I was like, oh, in the back of my head, I was like, dang, we had sex and you just told me that you was off a roofie. So she doesn't remember anything that happened. And so now it's like, what's that make me look like? But at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's interesting what that makes you look like, because I took a hard look at the law in your state, and it's pretty interesting because there's a statute of limitations, 8 years actually, and it says rape is unlawful sexual penetration of a victim by the defendant, and the defendant knows or has a reason to know that the victim is mentally defective, mentally incapacitated, or physically helpless. And it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not that you have to meet all of these. Any one of these.
Yes, sir.
You assault her in the car. You say she was incapacitated when you found her.
Yeah, when I found her.
Then you assault her in the car. Then you go home and she's clearly incapacitated. And
no,
you still...
There was time lapse. That's my girlfriend. We've had sex plenty of times. We've had sex every day, countless times, like yesterday, like this morning, like all the time.
What does Autumn see in you? Oh, my gosh.
I don't know if I've ever met anyone more foolish than you.
Yes, sir.
You're the guy that beats women.
You see all this.
You're the guy that rapes women.
Autumn has been through physical abuse and mental abuse through her parents, stuff that's happened her whole life growing up. Autumn has told me stories about where her dad has hit her and where he's like drug her out the house by her hair. She told me that her father used to call her a raging bitch. And she also told me that her dad's racist.
May I? So, I don't know if I've ever met anyone more foolish than you.
Yes, sir.
Let me... So let me carefully define the situation for you.
Yes, sir.
You've come on stage and you're smiling and you find great humor in the fact that you're sexually assaulted and physically assaulted my daughter.
There's no humor to it.
You had the courage. I don't think I want to call it that. I think I want to call it the poor decision to look my wife in the eyes and use your fingers to illustrate. But if you'll listen to me, I want to outline the situation for you.
Everything you're saying, yes, sir.
I've trained thousands of warriors, soldiers to take the battlefield in some of the most austere and dangerous conditions imaginable.
Yes, sir.
Against some pretty scary armed aggressors.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. That's probably why your daughter's so afraid.
I've come looking for you, and I'm going to just tell you that by the grace of God in heaven, I was unable to find you.
Yes,
and
sir.
it's only through my inability to do so that you still draw breath.
Yes, sir. So you're going to kill me.
So I'm just going to tell you on behalf of...
Are you threatening to kill me? That's what I'm asking. Are you threatening to kill me?
No, I just know what would happen. Based on your behavior, nobody can have a sensible conversation with you. You've got my daughter wrapped up in this cycle of domestic violence where the tension phase builds up. And then she does something to try to gain your favor, but it triggers you, and then you batter her and you beat her. And she tries to get through it as quickly as she can so she can get into the honeymoon phase to try to please you again.
Yes, sir.
What we've tried to explain to her, and that's when the sex happens, by the way, she's tried to explain to us that she thinks that that's who you really are, the guy during the honeymoon phase. What she doesn't understand is everything is about getting to that for you, but you're really the other guy. You're the guy that lives in those other two phases.
See, this
You're
is
the
how
guy
I
that
see
beats women.
You see all this.
You're the guy that rapes women. You're the guy that has the nerve
I rape women?
to come on stage and look my own wife in the eye on national television and illustrate that you're going to have sex with somebody with your fingers. I know that Dr. Phil has the ability to figure out what's wrong with you because the Lord knows that I don't.
Yes, sir.
Well, Sean and Angelica say DeAndre has threatened to kill their daughter several times and even held a knife to her. We're going to hear what DeAndre has to say about that when we come back. Well, we've run out of time, but I still have a whole lot to say to DeAndre. And things heat up even more when DeAndre confronts Sean for allegedly abusing his daughter, Autumn.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, Sean.
I don't respect you, sir. I don't respect racist people.
Confronts his daughter's abuser.
I didn't think it was possible you would say something even more stupid than what you've already said.
If her parents can't keep him away.
You violated a restraining order twice since you've been here.
Can Dr. Phil?
Have you threatened to murder her, and did you tell her that you've murdered someone before?
Yes, sir.
That's tomorrow.
Believe me, you do not want to miss tomorrow. Look, I want to thank all of my guests today. We'll see you next time.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, an ex-military father
I don't respect you, sir. I don't respect racist people.
confronts his daughter's abuser.
I didn't think it was possible you would say something even more stupid than what you've already said.
You fully acknowledge that you have abused her on multiple occasions.
Yes, sir.
What's going to happen to change that?
If I was in their shoes, I would hate my guts, and I would never want my daughter to ever be around me.
If her parents can't keep him away,
You violated a restraining order twice since you've been here.
can Dr. Phil
Have you threatened to murder her, and did you tell her that you've murdered someone before?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Yesterday, I sat down with Autumn, who was so crazed about her ex-boyfriend DeAndre's behavior that she keyed his car in a fit of rage. Now, Autumn says DeAndre is abusive and claims he has headbutted her, may have sexually assaulted her, and threatened to kill her. Now, Autumn's parents, Sean and Angelica, say Autumn refuses to call the police and is always making excuses for DeAndre. But DeAndre claims it's Autumn's father who was abusive to her and blames him for their messed up relationship. Here's what happened yesterday.
You think I care? I don't care anymore.
Quit hitting me.
I've lost my mind.
DeAndre's probably the most jealous person I've ever met. DeAndre goes crazy when he's not in control. He starts bashing me. Last September, I woke up and I was at DeAndre's house. I just had bruises everywhere, and I don't remember a thing.
My wife and I got a phone call. It's one of those phone calls that you never want to get as a parent. Help me, I'm being held against my will.
Her leg was bleeding. She had blood on her face. We took her to the ER. Autumn did not want to press charges. I think Autumn dropped the charges because she thought he was sorry.
So he has abused you.
Yes.
Has he sexually assaulted you?
Yes.
You have a restraining order against him now, correct?
Yes.
So why have you been with him all weekend while you were here?
He just sucks me back in.
Dad, why do you think it's okay with her to be treated that way?
I can't explain the gravity associated with your daughter calling you at 2 a.m. in the morning and screaming over the phone that she thinks somebody's going to kill her, and then the phone cuts off, and you don't even know where she's at.
What's your take on this, Mom?
I'm scared. Very scared.
Autumn and I have an abusive relationship. I stay with Autumn because I kind of like crazy girls. This order of protection came about because me and Autumn cannot stay away from each other. 3 days ago, we was having sex in my vehicle. It was good sex.
Why do you think that it's okay for you to hit my daughter or any other
woman? It's okay
woman?
for you to hit your daughter. Or your daughter is also very afraid of you. So you didn't drag her out the house by her hair?
No, I did not.
Let's say that's correct, just hypothetically. What the hell does that have to do with you doing it? You think because someone else in the past that gives you license to do so?
No, sir. I just take full responsibility for
Well,
what
then
I
take
have.
responsibility
I feel
for
like
it.
he
Don't
should
point the
take
finger at
full
him.
responsibility
If you're
for what he
putting
did.
your hands on a woman, that's a cowardly thing to do.
Yes, sir.
What are you doing?
Yes, sir.
You said on the 10th of September in 2017, you found her passed out in a car with some unknown man.
Yes, sir.
And she fell to her knees when she got out of the car.
And we was laying down for a little bit, and then like she started rubbing her butt up against me. And then that's when we did what we had to do. We did our thing.
Rape is unlawful sexual penetration of a victim by the defendant. The defendant knows or has a reason to know that the victim is mentally defective, mentally incapacitated, or physically helpless.
There was time lapse.
What is Autumn seeing you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if I've ever met anyone more foolish than you.
Yes, sir.
Let me... I've trained thousands of soldiers to take the battlefield.
Yes, sir.
In some of the most dangerous conditions imaginable.
Yes, sir.
And by the grace of God in heaven, I was unable to find you.
Yes.
And it's only through my inability to do so that you still draw breath.
Are you threatening to kill me?
Autumn's parents, Sean and Angelica, say their daughter's boyfriend, DeAndre, has threatened to kill her several times, and they are afraid he may actually follow through with it at some point when he loses control. DeAndre says he's been through anger management. He recognizes that he has work to do, but he seems to not read the room really well and has said some very insensitive things in front of her parents that I think are really offensive and disrespectful, and I don't know if you know that, but I think it's been very hurtful to you to hear some of these things. I think you are showing extreme control in this situation. Thank you. Sean says one night Autumn called him hysterical, and when he got to DeAndre's house to pick her up, she was beaten to a pulp and covered in blood. Take a look.
That guy's a monster. I think he's evil. My daughter's starting to become this stranger to my wife and I. She's 180 degrees from the person that she was.
Before meeting DeAndre, Autumn was vibrant. Since meeting him, Autumn has withdrawn, dropped out of college.
Autumn calls us frequently, and it's almost like something out of a scary movie. All you can hear on the phone is my daughter screaming hysterically, he's gonna kill me, he's holding me on the floor, and then the phone hangs up, and you have no idea where she's at.
One time, she was crying because he stripped her of her clothes and called her a whore. I confronted him and told him that my daughter is not a whore. My daughter doesn't deserve to be degraded. He said, "Yes, ma'am, I love your daughter."
I fear what DeAndre's gonna do to her because this cycle of violence that they're trapped in, it's getting tighter and tighter.
Autumn has promised me numerous times that she'll stay away from him, and I find out that she hasn't left. I'm afraid DeAndre will kill my daughter. He's hurting my baby, and I want her back.
You were wanting to say something during the tape?
Oh, yeah, that was the night that, this is when you told me that, that's the night that she said that her dad was abusive.
Mm-hmm.
When we was in the same room, when she said your dad puts her hands on her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can act like you don't know. We know.
Does that have to do with anything?
I'm just saying.
Okay, so you've said it. Now what?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
All right, let's move on.
So what's next? What do you want to say next?
Oh, nothing. I just wanted to point that out because she was acting like she didn't understand.
You didn't like me standing up to you.
I love that you stood up to me. I like that. I like that you're a strong, independent woman. I respect you. I don't respect you, sir.
Mm-hmm. I would be very, very careful if I were you. This is what I do. I read people, and
yes, sir.
I've been doing this for 45 years, and I would be very, very careful.
Yes, sir. I don't respect racist people.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You can throw the race card up on the table if you want, but I would be very, very careful about insulting the father of a girl that I had been physically and sexually assaulting.
Yes, sir.
I would be very careful about that, whether he's black, red, blue, green, or whatever. I would be very, very careful about that.
Hey, Dr. Phil.
Just my advice.
Did he just raise the race card?
He did.
DeAndre?
Yes, sir.
I'm open to what I was hoping you would say something even more stupid than what you've already said. Could you? I didn't think it was possible, but I've been wrong before. What did you just say about race?
I just hear, this is hearsay. I'm not 100% sure if he's racist or not. I'm just hearsay of what your daughter tells me. Just like she said that you beat her.
Okay.
I'm just hearsay of what your daughter tells me.
Right. When you're beating her and when she's trying to get out of the situation?
No, sir. When
she's scared
when
that you're gonna take her
when
life?
she's at home starving and you're not helping her with anything, and
None of this
she's
is
telling
true.
me.
Let me, can I?
When she's
Well,
telling
you're not accountable to him for
Right.
that, but go ahead with whatever
I'd love
is.
to put your mind at ease.
Yes,
You
sir.
seem like such a good young man. So let's talk about race. It seems like your generation loves to throw out that. So you've been given your opportunity. Let me have mine.
I understand, sir,
So-
but I have no problem. I'm just going off of what your daughter tells
So
me.
then let me help you clear it up, okay?
All right, let me listen.
Yeah.
All
So,
ears.
in the 20 years that I had the privilege of serving my country, I led men of all color, women of all color.
I understand this.
I trained and fought beside them, and I was
Yes, sir.
willing without hesitation
Yes, sir.
to give my life for them,
Yes, sir.
to protect the rights of the people sitting out here. And if you look, they're different colors. To protect people like you, who
Yes,
even
sir.
though you're too foolish to understand it, still have privileges that the Constitution provides you. And there's men and women that are willing to fight for those. So the two best friends that I had the privilege of knowing, one was a black man, and my wife can tell you this, he and I were brothers. We were. And the day that I got the call from his wife that he had died in Afghanistan was probably one of the saddest days of my life. And I still weep when I think about his passing. You don't have the right to speak about race when you talk to me. If I'm the man that you think that I am, I would not have raised the daughters that I raise who don't see people based on the color of their skin. My daughter was in love with a black man before she met you, and he's awesome. He was good. My wife and I were actually excited about the prospect that he was going to propose to her. And every time we see him, we embrace him and we tell him that we miss him. I have a daughter that married a Hispanic man. We didn't raise our children to see color. We raised them to love good people, which is why we're having trouble with this.
Have you threatened to murder her, and did you tell her that you've murdered someone before?
Yes, sir.
I've been married 42 years, and I just can't think of any time I've ever told my wife I'm going to murder you. And later, you're under a restraining order right now. You violated it twice since you've been here.
Wait, am I supposed to agree with you?
You already have.
Shoot, y'all got me sweating. I'm be back in jail. Shoot.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil exclusive.
Collier was 11 when he heard his mom being murdered by his own father.
Police say she was struck on the head and suffocated with a plastic bag.
A child's testimony.
I heard a thud.
A hidden body.
My father rented the jackhammer days before the murder happened. It was completely premeditated.
A pregnant mistress.
Sherry showed up at his house right after his mother went missing.
A search for answers.
I was determined to find out what happened to my mother and put my father in prison for life.
Will he get out of prison alive? Will you be okay if he is granted parole?
I did not kill Noreen.
This is a psychopath.
That's tomorrow.
You fully and freely acknowledge that you have physically abused her on multiple occasions.
Yes, sir.
What's going to happen to change that?
I just got to keep working. I feel like taking that first step into realizing that I have anger issues and trying to help get the problem resolved was a big step, but it's not, it just doesn't happen overnight. I feel like it's going to take time for me to get better.
It's a process.
Yes, sir.
And there was an incident report concerning your domestic violence where you were charged with assault in January of this year. And the report says that you dragged her into the bedroom,
No, sir.
took her money, approximately $450 in cash, grabbed her ankles and drug her towards the bed before grabbing her arms and throwing her on the bed, that you picked her off the bed and slammed her on the ground. You put her back on the bed and began choking her and threw her against the wall and slammed her face so hard that her ears started ringing and she thought her jaw was going to break. that you attempted to drag her to the bathroom to get blood off of her face. Now, that was the incident report that was filed. Do you recall that? The report?
I've never read that report.
Okay. And then there was a mugshot.
However,
that went along with it,
yes.
And you were charged with aggravated assault.
Yes,
bond
sir.
was $20,000.
Yes, sir.
So you recall that, right?
Yes, sir. And then after that, that's when I took my anger management class. However, the story's false.
No, I'm just saying what was in the police report. That's
Yes,
what she
sir.
reported.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you were asking, is he calling his daughter a liar, or are you calling her a liar?
She lies about some things.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But you do admit that you've choked her, you said
Yes, sir.
probably 6 times.
Yes, sir.
But you don't want to do that. That's not something you want to do, right? You want to stop that.
Yes, sir. I want to get
And
yes, sir.
have you threatened to murder her, and did you tell her that you've murdered someone before?
Yes, sir.
Who did you murder?
I didn't murder someone. I just said it to scare her.
You just were intimidating her,
Yes, sir.
threatening her? Well, let me ask you something. Anger management or no anger management, does that seem odd to you in a relationship to be telling someone that you supposedly care about,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to murder you? I mean,
yeah,
I've been
wrong.
married 42 years, and I just can't think of any time I've ever told my wife I'm going to murder you.
Yes.
That just seems like such an odd thing to come up in a conversation. What would cause you to say I'm going to murder you?
Anger issues.
But so that's something that you thought about?
No, sir.
Well, you did think about it because you said it.
I just call it talking out the side of my neck. That means, like, I'm just talking to talk. Like, I'm not really thinking about what I'm saying. I'm just talking.
And do you sometimes do things that you don't think about doing? You just impulsively you do it?
Yes, sir.
Let's take a look at the video of Autumn keying your car that went viral. Then I'm going to ask you to tell me what happened here.
You think I care? I don't care anymore.
Quit hitting me.
I've lost my mind.
Quit hitting me.
Give a
Ooh, you don't need to give a. It's cool. I got video proof of you doing this. You're crazy, bro. You're crazy. Let me leave. You have me blocked in. Let me leave. You're kidnapping me. Let me leave. Leave me alone. Let me leave.
So what was going on there?
All right, so that night, because how Autumn, she's...
Because you did show some restraint
yes, sir.
in that.
Yes, sir. So that night, Autumn and I, we was at her house. She went through my cell phone, and she saw old messages from when we was broken up. My son's mother had sent me some messages, and she went through the messages, saw those messages. She was like, leave, leave. I was like, no, like, I care about you. I'm not trying to leave while, like, over some stuff that happened when we was broken up. And then so she's like, blase, blase, she's screaming at me, we're yelling at each other. And then she sets all my stuff outside. I walk outside, I got all my stuff, I'm in the car, and then she sends me a picture of all the money in my wallet, and then she sends me like a winky face, and I'm just like, okay. So I go up there, knock on the door, knock, 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 knock. Can I get my money? I don't have your freaking money. She's like, if you don't leave, I'm calling the cops. And then so I snatch her phone, I take off running, and then I hide her phone, and then it turns into a high-speed chase, like I'm trying to get around the corners, and then I'm trying to turn around, and then Lil A, that's her nickname, I call her Lil A, she hops out the car and she starts going ham on me. Going ham means she went crazy on me, so y'all know the lingo, but she goes ham on me. And I was like, look, man, I cannot, like, by that time I was just so, like, beyond, like, we've been through so much and it's just so crazy right now. So I'm just like, look, I'm videotaping you because I don't know what else to do right now. Like, I can't control myself. I know that I'm not going to put my hands on you because I'm trying to get better and I'm trying to control myself. So I just videotape her. You keyed the car. Not only did you key the car, you keyed my rental car. It's not even my car you keyed. So that's when I'm like, you're going to have to pay for this. And she's like, no, I'm not going to pay for this. All the times you broke my stuff, like, you're going to pay for this, blase, blase. I was like, look, you're going to have to pay for this or else I'm going to have to call the police. And then
She says you only called the police because she didn't want to get back together with you.
No.
That's what she said.
No, sir. It's incorrect.
What are you saying, she's lying?
I would say that's a false accusation. So, yes, sir. I hope that one day y'all can find it in y'all's hearts to forgive me for all the things that I've done.
Where'd those come from?
She's a white girl. I'm a strong man, so if I grab her, it's gonna leave bruises.
And later,
I run to DeAndre because I feel like he does give me like what I need. That's like true love.
we have the pictures of these bruises. Where'd those come from?
Probably when she was, shoot, maybe she would grab me or something. I mean, she's a white girl. I'm strong. I'm a strong man, so if I grab her, it's gonna leave bruises.
At this point, do you intend to stay involved with her?
Based off of last night, potentially, yes. However, if anything's gonna be resolved, first and foremost, I want to apologize to y'all for the things that I have done to your daughter, because y'all, she's a beautiful girl. She has a good heart, and y'all are, well, great parents. And I know some things go wrong, and I know y'all have done things. However, everyone does things, and not everyone's perfect. Just like I've done things and I'm not perfect. However, like I hope that one day y'all can find it in y'all's hearts to forgive me for all the things that I've done, and we could come to a conclusion, and me and your daughter can be happily off and everything gets better. But if not, I just still want to apologize sincerely, because I've never given you a chance to apologize face to face, and I want to give you that. I hope you can give me that opportunity to say I'm sorry for everything that I've done to your daughter, and because she doesn't deserve it. She definitely doesn't deserve it. She's a beautiful woman. She's a great girl. She's smart. She's intelligent, like everything. She's the whole 9 yards, and y'all raised a beautiful, wonderful daughter. And.
But you have no ability to predict that you can keep your hands off of her at this point, right? You know, like you said, I've started, but I don't.
No, sir.
No, sir. At this point, the best predictor of future behavior is relevant past behavior.
Yes, sir.
And at this point, you're a work in progress. You have no ability to predict that you can keep your hands off of her in anger, right?
Yes, sir.
Because, I mean, these are the images of what's happened so far. I mean, she's had black eyes. She's got bruises all over her body. You admit that you've choked her. I mean, we've been through the sexual assault that night. She says that you have beaten her, thrown her around, sexually assaulted her, choked her. And that's the history. That predicts
yes,
what's going to happen in the future unless you get more help than you've got.
Yes, sir.
So do you expect her parents to support you being with her until such a time as some independent professional says that you're a safe person to be around?
No, sir. I feel like if I was in their shoes, I would hate my guts, and I would never want my daughter to ever be around me if I was in their shoes.
And how many times have you seen her since you've been here? Last night, for sure.
Last night, the night before that, I mean, 2 out of 3 days. We've only been here 3 days.
2 out of 3 days?
Yes, sir.
You're under a restraining order right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you violated it twice since you've been here.
Wait, am I supposed to agree with you?
No, you have. You already have.
Shoot, y'all got me sweating. I'm gonna pull up from Clarksville and be back in jail. Shoot. Yeah,
that's exactly right. You just admitted that you violated the restraining order twice since you've been here. We know that because I just have that on tape. And you've also admitted to a number of physical attacks, also on tape.
Yes, sir.
So I'm just saying, would you like to work cooperatively or adversarially? Because the family can take this videotape where you have admitted violating this restraining order. They can take this and play it for the judge who issued that order. And trust me, judges who issue orders and then have people just thumb their nose at the order, they don't like that very much. And if they take this tape and play that for the judge where you have disrespected the court and violated the order, are very likely to put you in jail.
Yes.
Or would you rather just cooperate and agree that you leave her alone until such a time as you've gotten the help where an independent professional can look these people in the eye and say, I believe he's no longer a threat to your daughter?
Yes, sir.
So which would you rather do?
I would definitely want to get help and definitely figure out a way to where we could work things out and be together.
Because that would mean leaving her alone until such a time as, and I will get you the help, by the way.
Thank you.
I will get you professional help so long as you leave her alone until such a time as that professional can look these people in the eye and say, he was a threat, he was immature, he had impulse control problems, he had anger problems, but those have been resolved.
Yes, sir.
Because I want to help you. I'm not judging you, I want to help you. But if you can't do that and respect that, then they can achieve the same thing by putting you behind bars.
Yes, sir.
It is really up to you.
I definitely don't want to go to jail.
So you would rather agree that you'll respect the order, leave her alone, take the professional help I'm giving you, and not take her calls, not call her, and stay away from her in accordance with the court order.
Yes, sir.
And do I have your word on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I'm going to excuse you and bring her back out. DeAndre's going to leave the stage so we can talk to Autumn, who has not been allowed to watch anything due to the restraining order, because I do respect them. So I have your word and commitment.
Yes, sir.
Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll be right back.
I am in fear of Autumn's life all the time.
I don't think people are born evil, and I felt like if I showed him enough love and what love really was, that it could change him.
I want this guy to pay for what he's done. He deserves to go to jail for a very long time. I think he's crazy.
Well, due to a restraining order, DeAndre is now backstage listening, and we are here with Autumn. Now, Sean says his daughter Autumn is constantly making excuses for her ex-boyfriend DeAndre after he beats her up, saying he's not evil, she loves him and thinks that she can help him. So I want to talk to you about this, and I want to add someone to the conversation here that I think is really very helpful to all of this, because I think he has some things to say to your parents as well. Dr. Sophie, why don't you come up and join us? Dr. Charles Sophie is a member of our advisory board, and he says that Sean and Angelica are not as actively involved as they can be, and are allowing Autumn to control them and make decisions when she does not have the tools to do so. And I couldn't agree more. And I'm not trying to insult you or condescend to you. I'm talking about the fact that I was saying before, that you're in the middle of this, and it's really hard when you're down in the trenches to see what's going on. And she is what we call enmeshed in this relationship, right? You see this all the time, Doctor.
Absolutely. I mean, what was it that you did, supposedly, that made her run to him? And in her mind, he has rescued her from you. And that connection, she can't let go. He's her protector, even though he doesn't protect her. So whatever happened that made you run, when you said you didn't get fed, you didn't get a shower, all that stuff, the way you were telling them, you were pounding it into them. You're angry at them, I guess, right?
Yes, I'm angry.
Do you ever deal with that with them?
I mean, yeah, we talk about it, but I mean, definitely I run to DeAndre because I feel like he does give me like what I need and whenever I need it, and I feel like that's like true love.
Yeah, but initially you ran to him and he's protected you.
Yes.
And so that's where she's addicted to this whole thing. And then I don't know how much drugs and alcohol are involved in your relationship with him.
I only,
you went to a dispensary the other night.
I do smoke weed. There's a reason that I smoke weed, though.
But there's a reason everybody smokes weed.
Well, I have issues with, I have sleep paralysis.
Yes.
And every single time I try to sleep, I wake up paralyzed. I've been to doctors. They try to prescribe me like multiple medications. And I just feel like weed's a healthier way to help that, because it did completely get rid of that.
But how much is involved in your relationship with him? And how much does he do?
We do it all the time.
Right. So, I mean, there's an addiction piece of it, and then she gets addicted to also the drama. And then she found a place to rescue herself. So that has to be undone so that she can be freed.
This is my order of protection that I took out against DeAndre. It was taken out on July 10th, 2018. I got the order because he was following me around, he followed me to work, and I just got really scared. Other orders to the respondent are no contact. He must not come about the petitioner, including coming by or to the shared residence for any purpose. Even though I had a restraining order, DeAndre and I still were hanging out. The last time I talked to DeAndre was today. The last time I saw DeAndre face to face was about a week ago.
You look very perplexed. And let me tell you what I'm hearing Dr. Sophie say. Listen, Dr. Sophie and I said he's on our advisory board. I have a very kind of off-the-cuff delivery style. I don't sound like an old country boy to you because you're an old country boy. But to everybody else, I do. But the truth is, there's a lot of research and work that goes into these interactions before they happen. And one of the things that goes into it is we have a very blue ribbon advisory board here of the top minds in psychology, psychiatry, medicine, sociology, even theology, nursing, all the different disciplines. And they're from the top learning centers in America: Harvard, Yale, Stanford, University of Texas. You know, just really where I'm able to call in and vet the different cases that we work on and get input from really the top minds. And Dr. Sophie is a very active and valued member of our advisory board. And he's board certified in psychiatry and family practice, and he is also the medical director of the Department of Child and Family Services here in LA, which is the largest Department of Child and Family Services unit in the entire country. So he sees family dynamics all the time. And I tell you what I hear him saying is her involvement with DeAndre is kind of like having an affair. It's like you get a husband and wife and they have to deal with the damn dailies, paying the bills, raising the kids, doing all this stuff. But then when one or the other goes off to have an affair, it's just like a long date. You know, that's fun. I mean, they don't have to deal with any of the problems. So here she is dealing with her parents, and you have to deal with discipline and raising and expectations and having to do all the things that you have to do when you raise a child. But then she goes off with DeAndre. All he does is tell her what she wants to hear and listens to everything she says about her parents and all of that sort of stuff. So he's like the knight that comes in and saves her. Pay no mind to the fact that he beats her. Right. But he tells her what she wants to hear, and so it just seems like a rescuer, and that's a dynamic. And it was interesting when we talked to you, she didn't trash you two at all. She loves and respects both of you, right? I mean, she said that very much. She didn't throw you guys under the bus a bit. And it was interesting in listening to the two of you talk about your daughter. You both described her exactly as what we see as a very young, intelligent woman that I think has a great future ahead of her. I mean, so we have people here that have mutual love and respect for each other, but there may be unfinished emotional business that needs to be resolved, and that's all you're saying, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Autumn says she wants to know if she can change DeAndre. I'm going to tell her what I think about that, and I'm going to let Dr. Sophie tell her what he thinks about that right after the break. Well, I'm back with Autumn and her parents, Sean and Angelica. I've asked Dr. Charles Sophie, a very valued member of our advisory board, to join us here, and he has made the very astute observation that there's unfinished emotional business between this young woman and her parents. Doesn't mean that there's a horrible fracture in this relationship, but there's unfinished emotional business that they could benefit from talking about in an open and mature way. Now, let me answer your first question. You know, can you help DeAndre? Can you fix what's wrong with him?
Yeah, I feel like everyone's has like someone in the world that they're meant to be with. So is he just like not meant to be with anybody if he's like this?
Oh, no, no, not at all. But by the same token, what's wrong with him is above your pay grade. I do think he is very immature. I think his emotional development was arrested at a very young age, and I think he's functioning at an emotional age of what, maybe 12, 13 years old. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, whenever you know that he started smoking, that's when an addict stops growing emotionally. So whatever age he started smoking is where he's still at emotionally.
So about the age you said was correct?
Yeah, because that becomes their coping mechanism, and so they stop. Necessity's the mother of invention, and when you don't have the necessity to develop coping skills because you're self-medicating, then you stop developing at that point. And our brain continues to grow into our mid-20s, and so when you start smoking marijuana, and I know it's not the cool thing to say, and I know it makes me sound like an old fuddy-duddy, and I hate that if it makes me uncool, but there is that little problem of overwhelming body of research that suggests that cannabis does interact with dopamine and the neurotransmitters in the brain, particularly young brains that are evolving, and changes the way they form. And so it has an adverse effect on you and on him. So let me shorten that by saying no. You're not the one to fix him, but can he evolve and mature and get past this? Absolutely he can. And I have told him that I will get him the professional help to do that. But I have also told him that that is contingent upon him leaving you alone until he gets himself under control and an independent professional can step up and say he is no longer a threat to someone he's in a relationship with. And that means he has to take your name out of his vocabulary. He has to not take your phone calls if you make them. He has to not contact you, because every time he does, he's in violation of the court order, and a judge will put him in jail for that. And he made multiple confessions on this stage here that are confessions a judge will look really badly at. And so I'm not going to try to put him in jail or influence the court in any way, so long as he takes a mature enough path to try to get himself better. So in answer to your question, no, you can't fix him. There's nothing about you. It's just that it requires more than you're trained to do. Here's the thing with you. You've gotten into a relationship where you've been given messages about your worth and your value. And you've been very traumatized in this relationship. It's not, listen, people that get beat up and thrown around and fear for their life, that's trauma that doesn't just go away when it ends. And that needs some healing. And you need professional help for that. And there are people that are specialists in that. And, you know, you guys are from Tennessee, and there's actually a place in Tennessee that is, in my opinion, one of the, if not the best place for dealing with people that have been through mental and physical trauma that I've ever seen. It's a place called Onsite, and they are the worldwide leader in intensive workshops specializing in emotional trauma and mental health issues, and they're just a really trusted source. They're just outside of Nashville, and they're on 100 acres in the rolling hills outside of Nashville. It's just absolutely beautiful. And be selfish and put yourself in the shop for a little while. This is not a mental institution. It's a place where you go to workshops. I mean, if you want to go into town and get something to eat, you can. I mean, it's just right there. I mean, it's a wonderful place, and Miles Adcox is the director, and I would like to do that to give you a real jump start. and then follow that up with you having a personal professional that will help you implement a lot of this into your life. And I think it would make a huge difference in a short period of time for you. What do you think about that?
I think that I would agree with you. I think that I would do that. I think that I definitely need help. It's
a really first-class operation, and I think it's time you put yourself at the top of the list and kind of be selfish in your own behalf for a while. And I think in a very short period of time, you're going to look back and go, oh my God, what was I thinking? What was I settling for? And you guys can be involved as well, and I think they'll pull you in and give you guys a chance to talk about any unfinished business you may have. It'll be a great way to transition away from him and let him transition away from you for a period of time, and that'll be a good chance to hit the reset button. Does that make sense to you all?
Yeah, thank you.
I want to thank all of my guests today. A special thanks to Dr. Charles Sophie, and a special thanks to OnSite and Miles Adcox for offering to help Autumn. We'll see you next time.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil exclusive.
Collier was 11 when he heard his mom being murdered by his own father.
Police say she was struck on the head and suffocated with a plastic bag.
A child's testimony.
I heard a thud.
A hidden body.
My father rented the jackhammer days before the murder happened. It was completely premeditated.
A pregnant mistress.
Sherry showed up at his house right after his mother went missing.
A search for answers.
I was determined to find out what happened to my mother and put my father in prison for life.
Will he get out of prison alive? Will you be okay if he is granted parole?
I did not kill Noreen.
This is a psychopath. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. On New Year's Eve, 1989, 11-year-old Collier Landry kissed his mother goodnight and went to bed. He had no idea it was the last time he would ever see her alive. Collier says he woke up about 3 a.m. and heard screams and loud thumps in the night. When he went looking for his mother in the morning, she was gone. He says his father told him Mommy went on a little vacation, but Collier knew his mother hadn't gone on any vacation. He soon realized that what he heard that night were actually the sounds of his mother being murdered by his father. What unfolded next was the trial of the decade. A pregnant mistress, a hidden body buried under the floorboards of a secret home, and a little boy who became the star witness in the murder case against his own father, Dr. John Boyle. More than 2 decades after his testimony helped convict his father of murder, Collier Landry decided to go back home. He wanted to face his past and face his father behind bars. He went back to get answers that he had waited for his entire life. The result was a documentary called A Murder in Mansfield. Take a look.
It is a case that residents in Mansfield and Central Ohio won't soon forget.
It was a story that consumed a town.
It was a kind of a frenzy. People wanted to know about this. It was like they had to know about it.
Noreen Boyle's car is still in the driveway, not moved since a cold December 31st, when police say here in the Boyle home, she was struck on the head and suffocated with a plastic bag. Dr. John Boyle was charged with murdering his wife, a murder their 11-year-old son and 3-year-old daughter may have heard.
I heard a scream coming from my sister. I heard a thud.
Noreen Boyle's body was found buried under fresh cement and new carpet beneath the basement floor.
I absolutely believe Dr. Boyle committed the crime when we found the body under the basement floor.
The two had been high school sweethearts and had been living a sweet life. To outsiders. Suddenly, Boyle closed up shop, moved in with his younger, pregnant girlfriend, and his wife disappeared.
The Boyle case is not only real, it's real close to home for many of the viewers. Courthouse employees managed their lunch breaks to stay right up to the minute on the story that's sweeping through every county office.
Boyle's son testified in that trial that he'd heard his mother and father fighting and that his father told him his mom had taken a vacation.
And one of the prosecution's key witnesses, the Boyle's son, Collier. Just 12 years old at the time of the trial, the little boy testified about hearing his mother scream the night she was murdered.
I was just looking through her bedclothes lying there to see if there's any blood on there or if there's any blood on her bed or anything. And then my father came up and my eyes were filled with tears.
The more I investigated the case, the more empathy I felt for Collier. He was just lost. And he was a very intelligent young man and was very helpful to the case. I did not kill Noreen. I never harmed her at all.
A jury found Boyle guilty of murder.
We, the jury in this case, find the defendant, John F. Boyle, Jr., guilty of the offense as charged.
He was convicted of suffocating his wife, wrapping her body in a tarp, and entombing it under the newly carpeted basement floor of his Erie, Pennsylvania mansion.
The doctor was sentenced to life in prison.
While the headlines may focus on a sensational murder trial on Hawthorne Lane, the tragedy is simple and direct. Noreen Boyle is dead.
Well, Collier, this must all be surreal to go relive all of this and go back through it. What was the hardest thing about revisiting this time in your life?
Well, I feel, to be honest with you, I wanted to do this documentary. And I wanted to go back and get the answers that I wanted from my father. And so
how would your mother feel about this?
I think my mother would be really proud of what I did because for me, I never wanted her to have a legacy that was in vain. I wasn't going to let that be the final chapter.
When you did this, you filmed a lot of first here. And I want to take a look at how this unfolded because the courage, and I don't want to embarrass you here, but the courage you showed, it's hard for people to put themselves in the shoes of a child having to stand up against a father figure and actually speak out and give a voice to that. And what captivated people most about Dr. John Boyle's murder trial was the chilling testimony from a little boy who stared down his father in court and helped put him behind bars for life. So let's take a look at 12-year-old Collier on the stand.
You said you went to bed about 9 o'clock on December 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Did anything happen during the course of that night that woke you up?
I awoke at around 3 to 3:15 a.m.
You know, how do you know it was that time?
Because as I awoke, I looked at the clock, and it said it was between 3 and 3:15 a.m.
Okay, now, you woke at that time. Is there any reason why you woke up rather than just stay there and sleep?
Because I heard a scream coming from my sister. The immediate thought I had was something was wrong with my mother. About a little while later, maybe about 3 minutes, maybe, I heard a thud. Little.
Okay, could you describe this sound for us?
Okay, it was about this loud. And then about a minute and a half later, I heard, half a minute later, I heard a thud like this. Even louder. And at that time, I was petrified. I was just scared.
All right, now, did you get up at that time to investigate what had happened?
No, I did not.
And could you tell the jury why you didn't?
Because I was extremely afraid of my father, and I always have.
Okay, now, did there come a time that you got up next morning and looked for your mother?
Yes, it was around 8:30 in the morning, and I got up and I ran immediately to my mother's room, and I noticed the covers were pulled back like a body had been taken out. It's not the normal way my mother would get out of bed. And so I went downstairs and I said, "Where's my mother?" to my father, and he said, "Well, Mommy took a little vacation, Collier." And then I didn't know what to say. I just panicked. And so I said, and he said she'll be back in a few days, and then she just left.
When was the last time you spoke with your mother?
It was around the night of December 30th.
Well, right before you went to bed?
Yes.
And that was the last time you really saw your mother, is that correct?
Yes.
By the way, you'll be able to see a lot more of this documentary airing on Investigation Discovery on November 17th at 9 p.m. And let me tell you, it is so well done and is really compelling. What's it like to watch yourself on the stand?
I had never, ever seen the trial footage, ever. I had never seen this trial footage. And I was looking at myself going, who's this kid?
Your father's in the room while this is happening. Is he looking at you? Or are you looking at him when this is going on?
I literally stared him down the whole time. And he would not look at me. He would sometimes look up, but every time I looked, he looked down. And at that moment, there was a lot of as horrific as it is to testify at a trial of your mother's murder, it's even worse that it had to be your father who you're testifying against.
Right.
But for me, I knew what I was doing was the right thing to do, so I was angry. I was angry, I was hurt, I was confused, but I knew the truth. And the satisfaction that I got from going up there and testifying against him was, I can't tell you how gratifying that was, despite the tragedy and the tragic circumstances that I was going through.
Right. Well, on the outside, Collier's family looked picture perfect. But what was happening behind closed doors that led to murder? And later, Collier confronts his dad behind bars more than 2 decades after the crime. Will he finally admit the truth? We'll be right back.
She was afraid for her life because she told me that about a month and a half before that. Said, you know, if I ever disappeared, Daddy probably killed me.
And later, Dr. John Boyle was sentenced to life in prison. This is a psychopath. Did your father ever ask you not to testify?
Tomorrow, she says her husband's image is being used as catfish bait.
50 women have been conned.
The catfish knew details about our family.
Who would have pictures from the inside of her home.
Could this man hold the answers?
You're not the male voice on the phone calls, right?
No. Get ready.
I think you've been getting played.
For an unexpected twist.
The catfish is here.
That's tomorrow. Then on Monday, a bitter custody battle.
The therapist recommended all parties stop videotaping.
You know that therapist was terminated.
The therapist didn't make those recordings, you did.
New Dr. Phil, Monday.
Can you tell us what you did with your mom?
Usually we like to go shopping together and just go out. We watch a lot of movies, and we go to the grocery store together and rent movies and stuff like that. But we just have a lot of fun. We go all kinds of different places.
Okay, now also drawing your attention here to your father, Dr. John Boyle. Did he spend time with you?
Not very much at all.
But compared to the time you spent with your mom, would you say you spent maybe how much % with your dad and how much % with your mother?
99% with my mother and 1% with my father.
Well, Collier Landry was just 11 years old when his father murdered his mother as Collier lay in bed listening. Now, Collier says everyone thought they were the picture-perfect family. His father, a prominent doctor, his wife, the perfect mother. But behind closed doors, Collier says it was a very different story. There was tension between your father and mother. What was going on between the two of them?
My father was very verbally and sometimes very physically abusive to both myself and my mother.
Right.
And one of the things we talk about is, in the film, is he threw my dog across the living room into the wall one time. He had a very violent temper that would just come on like that out of nowhere.
Right.
And to other people, it seemed like, oh, they have a picture-perfect life. But that just wasn't the case.
Now, he had a mistress, as we find out. You had actually met her.
Yeah.
How did that come to pass?
So it was around Memorial Day weekend of 1989, and my father took me to a barbecue, like a party, that was at her parents' house. And my father told me, oh, this is a patient of mine. They were walking around this lake that was there, and I saw my father put his arm around her from a distance. And I thought, something's not quite right. And then we left, and he gave her a kiss on the cheek. It wasn't until Father's Day, a month later, that I went with him to this place called the Suntan Factory. He was getting a suntan. She showed up with 2 remote-control cars, and for my father and I as gifts, she had a ring on that was my mother's. And then I saw him, at the time, I think I told my mother, he tongue-kissed her. but I saw him kiss her in a way that's not a friend or a patient, right. You know. And my father then asked me to lie about it. And I did that night when we went out for Father's Day. I lied to my mother. And I got so violently ill that night, and I woke up the next morning, I was playing with that remote control car, and I just stopped. I walked in, my mother was sitting on her porch, and I walked in and I said, Mommy, I lied to you, I'm sorry, but I think Daddy is having an affair. And my mother knew that.
Collier knew for sure something was off when Sherry showed up. Take a look.
Did there come a time that you were with your father and he happened to see Sherry Campbell?
Yes.
Did you tell the jury when that happened?
It was a Father's Day of last year. And then my father asked me if I wanted to go with him to take a suntan to the suntan factory or wherever it was. And when we got there, my dad got out and he says, well, look who's here. It's Sherry. And then I just was like disgusted. Then I turned to Sherry and I looked at her hand and she had a ring on. And I turned to her and I said, Sherry, my mother has a ring like that.
Did this affect you in any way?
Yes, it did, very emotionally.
Can you tell the jury how it affected you emotionally?
Well, I was so close to my mother, I couldn't believe my father could do anything like that. I thought it was her ring, my mother's ring, because I know that was a very special ring. I knew hardly anybody ever had a ring like that, so.
When you're testifying against your father, your mother is gone, you're now a linchpin in putting your father in the penitentiary, so you know, I'm gonna walk out of here with no parent.
The really sort of challenging thing with that is the prosecution, literally, and Dave Messmore, they said, we don't need you. You don't need to testify. And I was like, there's absolutely no way you're talking me out of testifying because I know what happened. And I was very, very adamant about, this guy's not gonna get away with this.
You say the night after your mom goes missing, Sherry, your dad's mistress, came over with a pork roast she had made.
She did.
And you said it was just like Insta-family, like all of a sudden, mother's gone, she's there, big happy family, big dinner. Did your dad think that was, I mean, what did he say to you all about why is she here?
Well, no, she came to, you know, to give us dinner, and look what wonderful thing she did. And I was not having it. I'm like, I don't want this woman, I don't want to be around this woman. I know this woman, because to me, she's responsible for breaking up my parents' marriage, because I didn't know my father was having affairs for years. Already, I'm thinking to myself, how am I gonna get in touch with police? Because my mother would never walk out on me. She's not missing. I know what I heard. I know she's not coming back. Finally, when the police started taking it seriously, when they were treating it as a missing persons case initially, when the uniformed officers came to the house to kind of see what's going on, I pulled one of them away and upstairs, and I said, look, my mother would never leave. She is either dead or he's done something to her. She was afraid for her life because she told me that about a month and a half before that. Said, you know, if I ever disappeared, Daddy probably killed me.
Well, coming up, inside the secret home Collier's father purchased, did he buy a house planning to bury a body? We'll talk about that next.
These are, you sure you want to see these with your pictures of your mom?
Wednesday on an all-new Dr. Phil.
My mom has always been a hoarder.
Oh, God. I'm stepping in animal feces.
As a child, there were times when you didn't even have a clean place to sleep.
Yeah. That's her perspective.
There aren't versions of the truth. There's either a sanitary room or there's not.
That's Wednesday.
I was the lead detective on the Dr. John Boyle case. It was about 3 weeks until we found Noreen. Dr. Boyle purchased a house in Erie. The doctor had asked the real estate agent if she knew what was under the basement floor, because he was thinking about lowering that so his son could play basketball down there, which is extremely bizarre. I obtained a search warrant for his house. We opened the door in the basement. One of the technicians found what he thought was fresh concrete on the wall. So we took sledgehammers and we started to excavate that. It took about 2 hours. And then we could see the tarp. As we pulled that out, then we found Noreen's body. She still had her Rolex watch on and necklace.
Well, that was lead investigator Dave Messmore. Now, he and his wife actually wanted to adopt Collier Landry, and they remain close to this day. Now, Collier was just 11 when he heard his mom being murdered by his own father. Now, for years, the only details he knew was what he heard that night. But decades later, his father figure, the lead investigator, showed Collier what actually happened to his mother that night. Take a look.
When I eventually got a search warrant prepared, we found a jackhammer and some indoor-outdoor carpet had been purchased by your father several days before the actual murder. And then we went into the basement, and he had put large shelving up, and it took some time before we actually found some disturbance of the concrete.
Well, that's definitely got an over here.
There is. Okay. It's a green tarp?
Yeah.
It took probably 3 hours to excavate that.
And that's when you knew it was my mom?
Right. She had a plastic bag tied around her neck, and that was to ensure that there was definitely going to be a death. And also, she had been subjected to blows to the back of the head with what may be a hammer, and that had cracked the skull, and it was done at least twice.
I never knew this. I mean, I literally never knew this until you tell me this right now. So it was very intentional.
There wasn't any question about that. Yeah. These are. You sure you want to see these with your pictures of your mom? This is the next day, and that's why the body has started to deteriorate so much.
So was that the first time you found out exactly what happened?
My entire life, you know, I would have nightmares, and I had this sort of vision in my head of what my mother's body would have looked like, or her face and all this. It haunted me. So when we were filming, we were at the Messmore's house, and my director, Barbara Koppel, they were gonna go to the police station, look at the case file, and she looked at me and she said, "Collier, would you like to come?" And the purpose of this film is to show vulnerability and to show that when you go through trauma, you can get through it. And I said, I'm going, I want to see those photos. Some people say that was really courageous of you. I just say, it's something I had to do. Because it's about closing those doors, closing those chapters and moving through the trauma.
You said the day that they actually did the excavation and actually did the dig and recovered her, you were in foster care.
It was my first night in foster care. They had literally yanked me out at about 7 o'clock in the morning that day. Pack a bag, didn't get to say goodbye to didn't get any toys, didn't get anything, just throw some clothes in a bag. There's police and scanners and crime scene, crime lab outside, a lot of things. And, you know, that was the last time I saw my dog. And I just yanked. And I had asthma, really bad asthma at that time in my life. And that night when I was in foster care, I had no idea what was happening. I had probably the worst asthma attack of my life, where I was literally just sitting there and I thought, I'm gonna die. I may just die. And the next morning I went to the hospital. I was ushered past with the honor, remember they used to have newspapers and honor boxes? Ushered past the honor box, which had the headlines, into the room. They gave me a breathing treatment. I was better. And then that is when they told me that Lieutenant Messmore found your mother, beat, 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 and she was dead.
And you had that asthma attack at the time they were finding your mother?
Yeah.
Well, after his mother vanished, Collier's father insisted he had nothing to do with her death. Next, what he claimed happened to his wife.
Did you, on or about December 31st of 1989, cause the death of Noreen Boyle?
No, I did not. I did not kill Noreen. I never harmed her at all.
I believe Elizabeth was a witness. A little girl who was recently adopted from Taiwan slept with Noreen most of the time. She's only about 2.5 or 3 years old, so she couldn't testify in the trial. She did explain to me how, when she was in bed, Guga's daddy, who would have been her brother's daddy in Taiwanese, came into the room and hit Mommy with something. She didn't know what. Then he took her out of bed and laid her on a sheet and rolled her up like a snowman. That was her description to me, and then took her out of the room. She demonstrated that to me in the home where she was staying.
Well, Collier Landry was just 12 years old when he became the star witness in the murder trial of his father, Dr. John Boyle. Now, his documentary with Oscar-winning filmmaker Barbara Kopple, A Murder in Mansfield, airs on Investigation Discovery on November 17th at 9 p.m. Prosecutors claim Dr. John Boyle murdered his wife and buried her in the basement of a secret house he purchased. But Collier's father testified that he was completely innocent.
For the record, for the benefit of the jurors, would you state your full name, please?
John Francis Boyle, Jr.
Did you have occasion to see, talk to Noreen early morning of December 31st of 1989?
Yes, I was on the sofa in the family room, and Noreen came down and woke me up. She started hollering, Jack, 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 and threw credit cards at me.
Right. Did she leave the house then?
Mm-hmm. Yes, she did. Saw her walk down the driveway. I ran back to the table that sits there in the family room, put my glasses on, and ran back again to see where she was going.
What did you see?
By the time I got there, I saw Noreen get into a car at the edge of the driveway.
Left in that car?
Left in that car.
Did you, on or about December 31st of 1989, cause the death of Noreen Boyle?
No, I did not. I did not kill Noreen. I never harmed her at all. I did not hire anyone or ask or counsel or incite or anything else like that to take the life of Noreen Boyle.
Did your father ever talk to you about testifying, ask you not to testify, discuss with you your role in trial at all before you testified?
No, I only saw my father one time before the trial, and he was, oh, I love you, I do this and that. I don't even think I said 2 words to him. I was so angry with him. It wasn't until after I had testified that my father went on a crusade for many years to try to get me to rescind my testimony or say that I was lying, or they sent investigators to what became my adopted home to interview me about being coached by the prosecution. And, oh, they put things in your head. And I'm going, no, they didn't, because I told the truth.
You were the one that actually tipped them to the second house where your mother's body was found. How did you know about that house?
So I had seen a photograph in my father's little cubbyhole in the truck, one of a house, and one of Sherry's family, of her kids, because she had kids from a previous marriage, sitting in front of the fireplace. And it was like there was plastic on the fireplace, so it struck me as being there was something new, but I'd never seen this house before, and I had told Dave Messmore about this house. I said, I don't know where it is, but I found these photos.
And we now know that he, in fact, did have a second house, and we now know that he went and rented a jackhammer.
Yeah.
I mean, is that not just incredibly arrogant? I mean, how you go rent a jackhammer and take it down and jack up the floor and...
Well, Dr. Phil, if you've not had the pleasure of meeting my father, but my father is probably one of the most arrogant people on the planet. So he can, he's a complete, total narcissist.
But it would seem like the blind man could follow that trail.
Exactly. And, he, over the years, the story changes, and it was an accident, it was this, but it's, Dad, you rented the jackhammer 3 or 4 days before the murder happened.
Right.
You bought the AstroTurf a couple weeks before, because there's the receipts from the Kmart that they used in the trial, or the green tarp that you wrapped her up in, right? Yeah. So it was completely premeditated.
Coming up, Collier confronts his father behind bars. He was looking for answers. Did he get them? We'll be right back.
So what happened?
She picked up a knife, and she came at me with that knife, and so I pushed her. I pushed her, and she hit her head against that wooden table. That's what happened. I'm telling you, that's what happened.
Good evening, everyone. This was the moment of truth in Mansfield today.
We, the jury in this case, find the defendant, John F. Boyle, Jr., guilty of the offense as charged in the indictment.
The judge said he would tolerate no outbursts in the courtroom, but they cheered in the hallway when Dr. John Boyle was found guilty of killing his wife, Noreen.
Dr. John Boyle was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of his wife, Noreen. All Collier has ever wanted from his father was for him to admit the truth about what he did to his mother. So he went to the prison to get answers.
So what happened?
Well, I told you I was where I slept all the time. You knew where I slept.
Yes.
Downstairs on the sofa in the family room. I came home. I don't know, I'm thinking it's around 10 o'clock. You guys all went to bed afterwards. I went to sleep sometime, and Mommy came down there and woke me up and started hollering about different things. She was talking about Mansfield, she was talking about money, she was talking about Sherry, she was talking about basically everything under the sun. My intentions were not to kill her or do anything else to her. But then she picked up a knife, and she came at me with that knife, and so I pushed her. I pushed her, and she hit her head against that wooden table. That's what happened. I'm telling you, that's what happened.
Then what else happened?
I ran upstairs to grab some underwear and my clothes and everything and put it in a bag because I was getting out of the house. And I came downstairs to see what she was doing, and she was there on the floor. She hadn't moved after I pushed her. Tried CPR on her. Didn't work. She was lifeless. She was dead. I panicked. I didn't know what to do.
How did she get a plastic bag over her head?
I put the plastic bag over her head. I put it over her head because I was just afraid to look at her, scared to look at her.
Not to suffocate her?
Not to suffocate her, no. Not at all.
I don't believe you.
9 p.m., November 17th, investigation discovery. You can see the entire exchange between those two. You do not want to miss that. Now, I'm watching him while you're doing this because I've devoted a lot of my professional training to deception detection. And this is a psychopath. I mean, he's answering this in a way that he has convinced himself. He's believing it while he's saying it. Did you get the sense that he expected you to buy this?
Oh, for sure. When he comes in the room, he's very excited to be there, the camera, because he felt that I was going to make a film that was going to help him get his parole and get out of prison. That's literally what he believed. I confront him with a statement before I read him this letter, and I say, since you murdered my mother, and that is the first time in my life that I say that to him, because I had visited him in prison for years because I wanted to keep a relationship. And look, let me be honest, it's hard enough to lose one parent. I didn't want to lose both, even though he's a horrific human being. I do. But there's a little part of you that doesn't want it to be true. So I say that statement to him, and it's like all the air gets sucked out of the room. And that is the first time in my life where I literally said, since testifying, I am taking back the power.
Yeah. Well, coming up, what became of Collier's sister, Elizabeth? We're going to find out what happened when Collier tried to call her after all of these years. And I have a couple other questions about that interaction. We'll be right back.
My name is Collier Landry. I grew up in this house.
Oh,
I just wanted to see if we could come in for like maybe 5 minutes. This was my mother's bedroom where she took her last breath.
Well, after more than 2 decades, Collier Landry decided to go back to the home where his father murdered his mother. He filmed it for the documentary A Murder in Mansfield.
616 Hawthorne Lane. This looks the same. Like, I remember all these shells. I remember my parents had these put in. The fireplace. I mean, all this. The dining room. The dining room was a little smaller because I was a little smaller at the time.
No, look around, bro.
But it's so crazy. So back here, this used to be my mother's office. And I used to have a desk right here where my computer was, and computer games and all this stuff, and her desk was right over here, overlooking the outside. We had this pine tree out the window. This right here was my bedroom. I described in the trial. I was laying in bed, and I was laying like this. And that's when I heard my father's footsteps come, and the door was open. And I kept remembering, and I remember my clock, my Batman clock was right here on the wall, and it said 3:18. When I woke up, and I looked at the clock, and I heard his footsteps, and he stopped right by the door, and I kept saying, this voice in my head just kept saying, don't look up, don't look up, don't look up, don't look up, don't look up. Because I really firmly believe that if I had looked up at that moment, that I would not be here right now. That I would have been murdered right along with my mother. And yeah, right here. I haven't been in this room in 26 years. This was my mother's bedroom where she took her last breath. It's almost like I feel her presence a little bit right now. Not to sound heavy-duty about things, but...
How did it feel to walk that space where you knew it took place?
I hadn't been in that house in 26 years. And yeah, there was definitely a presence there. And it was challenging.
And did they know what had happened there?
Yeah, they did.
Now, we talked about your sister, and you haven't spoken to her ever again, right? I
haven't seen, when she was adopted, she was adopted by her foster parents, and they were not exactly, we didn't see eye to eye. Let's put it that way, put it mildly. So they did not allow me to have any contact with her whatsoever. We had a couple of visits, and they, through Children's Services, and they made them supervised visits, and they said, she's so tortured by seeing him, it's traumatizing her, you know, which I think was a bunch of nonsense. Yeah, I have not seen her in, well, that was 1990, so what are we, 28 years now? And I tried to reach out to her during the film. We, did the call search, found some numbers, called, nothing, silence on the other end of the phone, then click. A lot of that, left some voicemails, which you see in the film, but nothing.
And you believe that she actually witnessed the murder?
I don't see how she couldn't. Every single night, she would go to bed in her room, which was right next to my mother's room, and she would end up in the bed with my mother the next morning. And when I woke up that morning of December 31st, 1989, after having heard the thumps, went back to sleep finally, woke up, it was about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, went in there, she was in the bed.
Well, we know how Collier felt going into this. We know why he did it. How does he feel coming out the other end? We'll talk about that after the break. For you, how do you feel coming out the other end of this process?
Well, Dr. Phil, this is the greatest achievement of my life. Started on the morning of December 31st, 1989, when I was determined to find out what happened to my mother and put my father in prison for life, that I was on that journey, and that is ultimately what started the domino effect for me to lead myself through the trauma and ultimately heal myself.
Do you have unfinished emotional business with your father?
No.
So you need nothing from him?
No. I walked out of that room, and that was it.
Will he get out of prison alive? He's been up for parole. It was denied.
And he's up for parole again in 2020, and I will not be there to support that.
Okay. Will you be okay if he is granted parole?
We let the chips fall where they may, I suppose, but I don't see that happening.
Do you have any need to see him again?
No. When I walk out of that room for my father, you know that I'm never coming back to see him.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. Collier, this has just been great. Thank you for sharing this with us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Phil. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Collier made his documentary with Oscar-winning filmmaker Barbara Kopple. It's called A Murder in Mansfield, and it is fantastic, and it is premiering on November 17th at 9 p.m. on Investigation Discovery. I highly recommend you seek that out. Take the phone off the hook, sit down, pay close attention. It is more than just something to fill some time. It really has a message. It really has some information that I think will impact your life. For more information, go to drphil.com. Thanks for watching.
A complete stranger has been obsessively stalking our family for 7 years.
She says her husband's image is being used as catfish bait.
50 women have been conned.
The catfish knew details about our family.
Who would have pictures from the inside of her home.
Could this man hold the answers?
You're not the male voice on the phone calls, right?
I took snapshots.
No. Get ready.
I think you've been getting played.
For an unexpected twist.
The catfish is here. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you.
This is a picture of Alan. He says he is 6'7", rich, successful, a single dad, looking for love with a woman anywhere between the ages of 27 and 50 years old. And these are the women Alan has been communicating with. Our only problem is Alan is married. And so why is he out looking for love? Well, he isn't. His wife Amanda says Alan's image is being used as catfish bait and that these 50 women have all been conned. The deception was uncovered when Amanda received Facebook messages saying you and your family have been used in a scam that's been going on for 2 years. Well, Amanda and Alan weren't too worried at first. That is until the victims sent Amanda and Alan pictures of the exterior and the interior of their home. Take a look.
A complete stranger has been obsessively stalking our family for 7 years. In 2012, I received messages from women stating someone was using my husband's identity, using all of his photos. They were catfishing women on a social media site.
She was looking for love, period. And he gave her that.
The persona that the catfish created was Alan, who was 6'7", around the same age, very, very wealthy. Looking for single women within 100 miles, ages 27 to 50, for short and long-term dating and new friends.
I didn't think there was anything we could do about it, so we just kind of let it go.
But someone had taken a picture from the driver's seat of a car outside of our home. That's when I realized what we thought was just a catfisher was actually someone that was stalking our family.
He seems to know a lot about you guys.
The catfish knew intimate details about our family, trips that we had gone on, the surgery that I had earlier this year, that my brother-in-law had been battling cancer. He was pretending to be Alan, pretending that our life was his life. It completely freaked me out.
We spent a crazy amount of time trying to track all the leads, really looking into who's close to me that would know this information, who would have pictures from the inside of our home, who was in our home.
I became paranoid. One of our fears was what this person would do once they found out we were onto them.
So who was this guy? Who had stolen Alan's identity? Well, Amanda and Alan were determined to catch the catfish because they were really worried. We're talking about pictures of the inside of their house. So they hired a private investigator. And that's when this story took a bizarre turn, as though it hadn't already. Take a look.
We wanted to hire a private investigator to track this person down. The investigator thought it must be someone we know based on the information that was being sent, but we were all shocked to find out who it was.
The person behind this was actually not a creepy man at all. It was a 24-year-old female who had started this when she was in high school. Sarah was catfishing women on Facebook. We learned that she had actually been using Alan's photos since 2011. She had been arrested in 2012 for impersonating a public officer.
Sarah was not trying to get money or anything from these women, but Sarah would offer these women, one of them a new wedding dress and one a new car.
She would make arrangements to meet these women, and then when the time came, there was always a family emergency. One of the ladies that I spoke to said that he had invited her to a concert. Then we learned just this year that Sarah went to a concert that we were also at. And she was probably around 30 feet from where we were sitting.
I didn't know Sarah, but at some point on Facebook, I had become friends with her. At that point, I discovered we had 99 mutual friends together. So I called my brother and asked how he knew her. He didn't know her, but he had told me that a couple weeks prior, she had been over at their house looking at a vehicle that they were selling. I thought it was really creepy.
One of my girlfriends had received 2 messages from her, and she was looking for a job. It seems like Sarah wants to infiltrate our family.
Well, it's good to meet the two of you, the real two of you.
Yeah.
Now, at first you didn't really freak out over this when you first found out somebody had hijacked your pictures, right?
Not at first. Those messages that were sent in 2012, I actually didn't read those for probably a year and a half.
Right.
They were in a spam folder on Facebook.
Okay.
So when I read them, I didn't think too much of it because they weren't using his name. There were just some pictures that had been stolen, and we hadn't heard anything about the police investigation.
Right. And what happened? What was the point where the two of you said, okay, now wait a minute. This has gone beyond just a game. Something's serious here. Somebody could really be a threat. Something could be wrong here.
In September, I had 2 women reach out to me, again on Facebook. The second lady was a friend of the lady that had been in the relationship for 7 months. And she said he has sent her pictures that are nowhere to be found online. And when she sent those to me, that's when I knew this was way scarier than we had imagined.
Okay. But why did you think it was somebody you knew?
Well, some of the pictures obviously pictures from inside our home, but also a picture from outside of our home, taken from the driver's seat of a car, was a little nerve-wracking. and some of the details that they knew about that the women relayed to Amanda, just about our family, our daughters.
Okay, so it's one thing to be in virtual reality, but now somebody's at your curb.
Right.
Somebody has gone into the real world and they're at the curb of your house. That's stalking now, right?
Yeah.
So somebody's there and that's a threat. Okay, so what did you do at that point? What did you feel, first off, when you realized somebody's sitting at our curb taking pictures of our house?
I was scared. We have 2 young children, and I started becoming paranoid because the information that these women were giving me, I knew that if this person did not know us personally, they had aligned themselves with somebody who did, because there's no way that they could have gotten some of the information they had about our family just from being on social media.
You know, when we talk about interior pictures inside your house, we're talking about really pictures from inside your home, and somehow this person got these pictures and they're referencing them as though it's their house, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of hijacking your life, hijacking your identity. And did you wonder about the people that they were engaging, pretending to be you?
Not until I got on the account on the dating site and noticed that there were over 50 conversations going on with different women. Then I was like, well, she's sending my pictures, or pictures of me and my daughters all over the freaking country to randoms all over the world, and that was alarming.
Yeah, and people, you know, this isn't just a game to the victims. People actually form relationships and they make emotional investments, and their lives get involved where they fall in love. And this is the communications with some of the women on dating sites. And I mean, you can just look at these. There are dozens of these where she's engaging with these people as you. Yep. And some of these women, they fall in love. They stop their life. They start putting all their emotional investment into that relationship. And you say the catfish knew your mother-in-law's career?
Yes.
So, I mean, there's an investment going on there. They're digging and getting information to really authenticate who they say they are. So you guys get a private investigator, which is expensive, right? You have to find somebody to go do this, track this person down, and then you find out that not only has there been pictures taken from the curb, but she says she's actually engaged with, met, interacted with a member of your family.
Yes.
So this gets more intrusive. What do you think about that?
It's disgusting. One of my fears was what was going to happen when this person found out that we knew who it was. Were they going to retaliate against our family? Were they going to show up at our children's school? You have, as a mom, you have every thought in the world that goes through your head and what we needed to do to protect our family.
Well, there was actually an apology email from Sarah to you, right?
Correct.
And here's what it said. I hurt you and your family, and I didn't even realize what I was doing. Why did I choose you and your family? Well, that's easy. You're successful. You seem like a family man, kind. It made me feel good to know I can live an imaginary life and not have to think of my own. I had a rough life growing up. I'm the only person involved. I used a deeper voice on the phone. I never meant to scare you. What was your reaction to that?
I thought it was all just a bold-faced lie. I think the only reason she's sorry is because we took the time to find her and she got caught. I mean, other than that, she'd still be doing this based on the dating site that she's on and the women she was conversing there.
Well, and you don't know that she's not.
I have no idea that she's
still doing it, right?
Yeah.
What you know is what you know. Well, we don't know what we don't know, right?
Well,
and
she gave us her phone during that meeting, and there were 2 other dating site apps on the front of her phone. So all of the women that had reached out to me were from one app, but we don't know what she was doing on other sites.
So there were 2 other sites.
Right.
there could be 50 on each of them.
Right, and those 50 open conversations were just within the last 10 months. So we don't know what happened, because what was happening is she changed her handle. So every time we tried to get it shut down, then she would just change the numbers at the end. So she would use his initials and both of our daughter's initials as her handle, and then change the numbers.
Well, when we come back, up until 3 weeks ago, Amanda and Alan thought the catfish was a man. Well, it turns out he is a she, a 24-year-old woman. Now, next, we're going to meet her boyfriend to see if he knew about this con. Now, there was a male voice talking to the women. Was he involved? Well, we're going to ask him. We'll be right back. She actually drove you by Amanda and Alan's home.
We drove by the house. We didn't stop.
When did you discover what was going on? And later, she told you stories from people that she catfished as though they were her own stories.
I remember her telling some elaborate stories.
Do you think she has stopped doing this?
Monday on an all-new Dr. Phil. She lost physical custody to a man her daughter had never met.
When my daughter was 3, I found out I was a father.
Brett has crossed state lines to meet his daughter for the first time.
I went to Florida because of you, California because of you. That's the only 2 times I've seen the ocean. Thanks.
The therapist recommended all parties stop videotaping.
You know that therapist was terminated.
The therapist didn't make those recordings, you did.
That's Monday. Then on Wednesday, she's an actress, but her real drama
My mom has always been a hoarder. Oh, God. I'm stepping in animal feces.
is off screen.
The dogs and I live in this bed.
This is unsanitary for dogs. As a child, there were times when you didn't even have a clean place to sleep.
Yeah.
That's her perspective.
There aren't versions of the truth. There's either a sanitary room or there's not.
All new Dr. Phil. That's Wednesday.
Sarah has apologized to me for using my identity, but she's a compulsive liar. Sarah's addicted to the game that she's playing and the conversations that she's having with these women on whether she can hook them in or not. I don't think she knows how to quit.
Well, Amanda and Alan received several messages from at least 10 women they've never met, claiming that Alan is being used as catfish bait online in a relationship con. Now, they hired a private investigator to help find out who was behind this. And it turns out the catfish is not a man at all. It's a 24-year-old woman named Sarah. Now, Amanda believes that Sarah is addicted to catfishing because she's been doing this not for the summer, not for a few months, but for years. Yet her boyfriend Ken says he had no idea she was living this secret life.
Sarah is beautiful. She has the charisma. It would never occur to me that she would be a catfish. Sarah and I met 4 years ago. The only thing that was suspicious about Sarah was that she was a very private person. I've only been inside her own place one time. One other thing I found unusual about Sarah was that she always would tell elaborate stories. At one point, Sarah did drive me past Amanda and Alan's house. She told me that the man who owned that house was dating a friend of hers while simultaneously being in an unhappy marriage. She told me that the man had a house in Tulsa and in North Carolina and that he would fly the mistress back and forth. This doesn't make a lot of sense. But then when I found out she'd been catfishing people, all of a sudden, all those things that I had let go, it didn't surprise me anymore. Sarah and I eventually went to meet the PI, Amanda and Alan, to figure out why Sarah was doing it and to figure out how she had acquired the information that she had. Sarah claimed that she was able to get a lot of her information randomly and through assumptions. It's hard to believe that, but I don't know that anybody knows how she got the information. I think now that she's caught, yes, she will stop. But I say that knowing full well that there are a lot of things about her that I've been fooled about in the past. So it's possible that I'm still being fooled.
Okay, we've been talking about what's been going on with Amanda and Alan and what they've discovered through the private investigator. When did you discover what was going on?
When the private investigator came to me.
Okay, And what was the first thing that he said to you about all of this?
The first thing he said to me about all this is that there was an investigation going on into potential identity theft. And I asked him, because I didn't have any clue, I said, my identity's been stolen? And he said, no. And he just proceeded to tell me, he asked me, do you know this person? Do you know Sarah? And I told him, yes, I do. And he said that there's been a potential catfishing case going on. It was just a bit of a what in the world's going on type situation.
And how long have you been in a relationship with Sarah?
On and off again for about 4.5 years.
Okay. And during that time, did you have any clue that she was doing anything like this with these folks or anyone else?
No.
You didn't know she was on dating sites?
No, no, certainly not as someone else. No, and there were times when we were on and off again that during the off times I would see that she had a profile of her own, a real profile, but I had no suspicion that she was doing anything as someone else.
She actually drove you by Amanda and Alan's home, correct?
Correct.
Why?
Well, at the time, she told me that one of her friends, was dating the man that lived there, and the man that lived there was seeing this woman at the same time he was getting a divorce from his wife. And he owned several different businesses. He had houses in several different places, and he would fly that woman back and forth from North Carolina to here. And she was just taking me by the house to show me, her friends, I don't know what the right word to use is, but his house that was seeing her.
And why would she think you would care?
That's a good question. I mean, she had been telling me the story about her friend seeing this man, and so I guess she just wanted to put a house to the story, make it seem more real.
Did she take any pictures when she was with you?
No, not that I'm aware of.
So did she stop in front of the house or anything?
No, I was driving. She actually told me how to get there, and we drove by the house. We didn't stop. I didn't see her take any pictures if she did when we were there.
And how far was this from where you lived? How long was the drive to get there?
Probably about, depending on traffic, I think it was about 20 minutes or so. I live in the east part of town, and that was not. It's more central.
So she says, let's go. I want you to drive me by somewhere and show you something.
Yeah, I want to. Well, she told me I want to show you this person. She'd already been telling me about this person, and she just drove me by there and wanted to show me his house.
When you found out about this, she lied to you when you confronted her.
She continued to deny it basically until I told her I have proof.
And later,
regardless of logic, regardless of what anybody says, regardless of the facts that are there, I've been in an on and off relationship with her for 4 years. My feelings are there.
Wednesday on an all-new Dr. Phil.
My mom has always been a hoarder. Oh, God. I'm stepping in animal feces.
As a child, there were times when you didn't even have a clean place to sleep.
Yeah. That's her perspective.
There aren't versions of the truth. There's either a sanitary room or there's not.
That's Wednesday.
So when you found out about this, and you found out that she had stolen this man's identity and was using it to engage 50 different women at a minimum, you know that now, right?
No, I didn't realize the number was that high, actually. I hadn't been told that number.
Yeah, well, we've got a graphic here that shows all of the women that she had engaged using his stolen identity.
Okay.
And you can see every one of these were people that she was engaged with, talking to as Alan, and striking up conversation, relationship with. Did you notice her spending a lot of time on the computer, the phone,
No, I mean, yeah, she spent a lot of time on the phone when we were together, a little more than I'd liked, but at the same time, it didn't seem to be extraordinary at the time. It just seemed like she was one of those people that didn't follow typical social protocols of when you're dating someone, don't be on the phone. But
okay. And you said that she told you stories from people that she catfished as though they were her own stories.
I remember her telling some elaborate stories that I didn't quite know how she could, how she knew so many people. I didn't know how she had so many interesting stories to tell.
Like wealthy people and,
yes.
all? And you didn't know how she knew those people?
I didn't know how she knew them. And I assumed, when I asked her how she knew certain people, she would always tell me she met them at work. She met them working at the diner. And I was a bit naive, maybe.
Well, as it turned out, those were people that she had
right.
had phony relationships with. Have you talked to her about this since it's all come to light?
Well, obviously, yes.
Yeah. You had to say, the hell are you thinking, woman? What are you doing? Did you have that kind of conversation?
Well, honestly, the thing that made me the most upset about all of it was not so much what was going on as the fact that how many times she lied to me about it. How many times that I got such, vigorously denied that anything was going on, vigorously denied that she was involved in anything, and then when I started trying to call her out on it, she continued to deny it basically until basically I told her I have proof. I've heard the phone conversation that you had with the PI admitting to doing it and saying that you weren't involved with nobody else was involved type stuff.
So she lied to you when you confronted her?
The first time, the first 2 or 3 times, yes. It wasn't until I told her that I had evidence that she didn't lie about it.
So you said what bothered you the most was not what she was doing, but what?
But the fact that she had lied about it so many times to me. Okay,
so it didn't bother you so much what she was doing, but that she was lying to you.
It did bother me. Don't get me wrong. It did bother me that she was doing it.
Well, no, I get what you're saying, because that's kind of abstract. I mean, you don't really feel what's happening on something you don't see or you're not involved in. That may make you sound like you don't care, but
yeah.
The truth is you don't really see or feel that because that's abstract. You're not there. You don't really.
Right.
That's not real to you.
Correct.
What's real to you is she's lying to you.
Yes.
Robin and I have been the victim of this kind of thing. That's not true. Absolutely not true. And later, you're spending years with somebody that is talking to 50 different people and saying, gee, I never noticed anything. And we can unravel that and just call the police instead. The holidays should be a time of hope and happiness, but for families, children, and the elderly struggling with hunger, it continues to be a time of need. Feeding America is the nation's leading domestic hunger relief organization, feeding 37 million Americans. Every dollar you donate helps provide 9 meals to men, women, and children facing hunger in our country. Visit drphil.com to find out how you can help this holiday season. Look, we've covered a lot of these catfish stories, and I can't tell you that the pain that I've seen it cause. It destroys people's lives. It disrupts their lives. It creates fear. It creates pain. Sometimes it causes people to go bankrupt. We covered a very famous case of a man named Renaya Tuiasosopo, who was caught tricking Notre Dame football star Manti Te'o into falling in love with him by posing as a fictitious woman. Y'all remember that story, right? It was all over the media. Take a look.
The story of the football player and his imaginary girlfriend just got more bizarre.
It turns out the girlfriend who Manti lost tragically to cancer never died because she never even existed.
The woman on the other end of the phone was really a man.
Renaya Tuiasosopo, the man behind the love hoax that captivated the nation, speaks out for the very first time.
I came
here to own up to what I've done.
The question that everyone would want to know is why?
Truth is I hurt every day.
I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about. This is what she was doing, using your identity with people. They fall in love. Some of them spend their life savings trying to get with that person, trying to get married, trying to do all of these things. And then when they find out it's not true, they're humiliated, heartbroken, they grieve the loss of their relationship, and you're innocently involved because it's you they fall in love with, they think, and you're sitting at home with your wife and kids and know absolutely nothing about it. This theft of identity on the internet is devastating to people. This is a cruel and vicious thing to do, and oftentimes they prey upon those who can least afford it mentally, emotionally, or financially, because they're the most vulnerable. Robin and I have been the victim of this kind of thing, where the scams that use our names and images have been used to con innocent people, and oftentimes it's been elderly people that are on fixed incomes that can ill afford to be scammed. Take a look at this. There are some scumbags using headlines about our marriage being in trouble to lure people into buying skincare products that have nothing to do with Robin or her brand. I mean, look at this. Domestic disturbance. I never meant to hurt my wife, but she wronged me, okay? Then, when you click on that nonsense, it brings you to another completely fabricated headline. So the article turns out to be nothing but an advertisement for a skin cream trial. We found out about this fake endorsement bull because a few weeks ago, viewers started writing into the show saying that they had just been bamboozled into buying these falsely endorsed products. Here's what some of them had to say.
When I saw an advertisement on Facebook, I thought, ooh, what is this? So I clicked on it, and it was saying that Robin was using this wrinkle cream. So they said it was free. All you had to do was pay for shipping.
It's only $7 or $8. And I thought I could do that. A couple days later, I looked at my account and I was charged $98.
This company had gone in, attached to my cart, started charging $101 every 2 weeks. And they got me for several hundred before I realized.
It's just a scam.
You see a lot of these people are elderly people that get stuck for hundreds of dollars, and you've seen the cases that we've done on the show with elderly people that have spent as much as $2 million with someone like Sarah, scamming them into thinking that there's someone like you that they're now in love with, and they spend their whole life savings, trying to make that situation happen. And they happen all the time. They happen all the time. There's one right now. There's this one. Dr. Phil and Denzel Washington introduced new erectile dysfunction cure. Big Pharma's upset. Denzel Washington caused hysteria last week when he and Dr. Phil undraped their new erectile dysfunction cure on his show. That's not true. Absolutely not true. Denzel wasn't here. We don't have this. They just make it up. People click on it and they get scammed. She writes you this apology letter. Did you believe it?
You're putting me in a strange position here.
Monday on an all-new Dr. Phil. She lost physical custody to a man her daughter had never met.
When my daughter was 3, I found out I was a father.
Brett has crossed state lines to meet his daughter for the first time.
I went to Florida because of you, California because of you. That's the only 2 times I've seen the ocean. Thanks.
The therapist recommended all parties stop videotaping.
You know that therapist was terminated.
The therapist didn't make those recordings, you did.
That's Monday. Then on Wednesday, she's an actress. But her real drama
My mom has always been a hoarder. Oh, God. I'm stepping in animal feces.
is off screen.
The dogs and I live in this bed.
This is unsanitary for dogs. As a child, there were times when you didn't even have a clean place to sleep.
Yeah. That's her perspective.
There aren't versions of the truth. There's either a sanitary room or there's not.
All new Dr. Phil. That's Wednesday.
Do you think she has stopped doing this?
I don't know.
She writes you this apology letter. Did you?
I didn't believe a word of it.
Did you believe it?
You're putting me in a strange position here, but
You're already in a strange position.
Do what?
I said you're already in a strange position.
Well, right. I agree. Thank you for reminding me.
Somebody has to.
No. I don't know what to believe anymore, to be honest with you.
And you're not the male voice on these phone calls, right? You're not involved.
No, I'm not involved in this, clearly.
Well, not clearly. I mean, nobody knows because we don't know you.
That's true.
And there's a male voice on that line. Doesn't sound like you to me.
I haven't heard the voice, to be honest with you.
And well, you will. And it doesn't sound like you at all.
Okay.
And frankly, I've been doing this a long time. You don't strike me as somebody who would be involved in this in any way whatsoever.
No.
I don't think you're involved. You don't seem to me to be of the personality type or the part that would be involved in this at all. So I don't believe that he's involved in this. I think you're a victim along with other people. I think you're naive about it. I think you've been getting played right along with everybody else. But I want to be clear. I don't think you're a perpetrator here. And I want to make that clear. That's just my opinion. You all may have a different opinion.
Well, there were a couple red flags when we first started with our private investigator. One was fake profile, Facebook profile, with a fake name and everything. The other one, just we didn't know. So we told our PI, go find him first and see if your voice is that and what you knew about it. And that's what we chased. So.
Right. Well, here's the male voice that we're talking about. Sarah demonstrated her male voice on 2 occasions, one for the PI on the phone and another time when she met Amanda and Alan. So here's her male voice.
There was a 360 tour guide of the house, and I took snapshots. I don't remember. I'll let him believe that. Sorry, what did you say? No, I didn't hear you. Someone else was talking to me. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't really do it this way. This is my voice speaking as a man.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like him at all, either one of those, right?
That's correct. And I mean, we figured out early on with our private investigator that Ken didn't have anything to do with it based on helping us find Sarah.
Yeah.
But I mean, and we've got recordings and we've got 4 or 5 hours of recordings with everything else that you and the PI spoke about. So.
Yeah. I just didn't want to leave anybody with the impression that, at least that it was my opinion that you were involved in, because it's not.
I asked him point blank, are these conversations being recorded? And he said no.
Well, they didn't record you, he did.
Agreed. I don't expect to be lied to. I don't want to be lied to.
Do you need Dr. Phil's help? Text Phil to 88500 and share your story for a chance to appear on the show. Standard message and data rates may apply.
We are taping season 17 of Dr. Phil. If you're going to be in the Los Angeles area and want to watch a live taping, visit drphil.com and click Be in the Audience. Tickets are free, and I hope to see you soon. Come on, I'm all by myself.
Sarah and I met on one of the websites she used to catfish women. I feel uneasy because I realize that my personality and profile fits that of someone who might be victimized by catfishing. I love Sarah and I want to be with her, but there's always been this lingering fear that maybe she's just a master con artist.
I don't expect to be lied to. I don't want to be lied to, and I don't think that it's appropriate.
So you're objecting to the fact that the PI did what?
Lied to me. I asked him point blank, you know, are these conversations being recorded? He said no.
And they were, in fact, being recorded?
They were. Where we're from, it's a one-party state.
I'm sorry?
Yes, it is a one-party state.
Where we're from, it's a one-party state.
Yeah, so it's not illegal to record the conversations as long as he knows it's being recorded?
Yeah. And he was giving us daily reports on them.
And
Well,
and you object to that because it was misrepresented?
All I'm saying is, yeah, I came here, and I said this before, I came here for two reasons. I came here because I wanted to see her get help. You know, regardless of logic, regardless of what anybody says, regardless of the facts that are there, I've been in an on and off relationship with her for 4 years. My feelings are there. They are what they are. And I wanted to see her get help. And number two, I wanted to help them get the answers that they're seeking. But when I find out that I feel like that they're manipulating me to get information here, it bothers me.
Well, they didn't record you, he did.
Agreed.
And you were a suspect at the time, so, I mean, if you want to get sanctimonious about it, get sanctimonious about it. But they are victims of someone with whom you are allied, and at the time you were a suspect, and they had every legal right to record you.
Right.
And I have bent over backwards to make clear that you are not a perpetrator here.
I agree with that. I don't disagree.
These people have been violated, not by you, but by someone with whom you are allied at the time the investigation goes on.
It's still,
and they
I
didn't
agree
lie
with
to you. The private investigator did.
I agree.
They didn't tell him to go do A, B, or C. They just got the fruits of that labor.
Agreed.
And they could have done two things. They could have prosecuted her, and instead they said, we can either take her to the police and prosecute her, or we can bring her here to Dr. Phil and try and get her some help instead.
Right, and they chose
and they
to get
did
help.
that.
So you're right. You're right.
And we could unravel that and just call the police instead.
Yeah. Well, don't hold this against her because of me.
Well, then don't get up on your hind legs and start barking at these people who have been jerked around.
When I find something out that surprises me, the reaction may be the reaction may be incorrect, but it's a reaction nonetheless. I apologize.
But I think they're being very.
Yes.
I think they're being very gracious about this whole thing, to tell you the truth. And at the time that you're spending years with somebody that is talking to 50 different people and saying, gee, I never noticed anything.
I'm not saying that I didn't know that there were suspicious things going on. I'm saying I would have never guessed that it was that.
Now, when we come back, Sarah the catfish is here. She admits she's really good at lying. Well, we're going to look her in the eye and see if we can get to the truth here. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I'm pretty good at this. We'll be right back.
I took Alan's photo and I made a Facebook profile out of it. After the Facebook profile, I created a dating profile. I felt like it was easier to be somebody else other than myself.
Today's show is almost over, but we are hard at work on tomorrow's show and beyond. And we are always looking for great guests. Do you feel like you're at a breaking point and need my advice? If you want my help, I want to hear from you. And guess what? I'm pretty easy to find. Just log on to our website, drphil.com, and click Be on the Show. You can also text Phil to 88500, and next thing you know, one of my producers just might be calling you. We'll be right back. You know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
We're out of time for today, but here's a sneak peek at tomorrow's show.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
How many people's identity have you stolen?
A catfish exposed.
You've stolen his identity as though you were him.
Right.
their privacy violated.
You're driving by their house, going to meet their family members. You are becoming a threat.
Will all their questions
We want to know why you're doing what you're doing and why our family.
finally be answered?
How'd you get the pictures from the inside of their house?
That's tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
Sarah said she is really good at lying. Sarah comes face to face with her catfish bait. Will Sarah reveal why she targeted Alan and Amanda? And will Sarah show us how she spoke to her victim on the phone in a man's voice? You do not want to miss tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil. He's torn between two Britneys.
He has nicknamed both Britneys in his life B1 and B2. You can't make this up.
B2 was at my house, and then B1 popped up unannounced.
I was immediately livid.
And this love triangle?
You say you're caught between two Britneys, but it seems to me like you're playing both hands.
Is shattering the family circle.
Let me tell you something, little lady. Shut your mouth. You won't speak to me that way. I'm 60 years old and I'm a grown adult. You're a grown adult? Act like one.
Okay, time out. I'm a little confused why both of you sit around waiting for him to decide what's going to happen in your life. Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Conscious uncoupling, bird nesting, and soft landing are new parenting trends being practiced by celebrity exes like Gwyneth Paltrow, Chris Martin, and Anna Faris, Chris Pratt. These former couples are setting aside their differences for the sake of their children. That's not the case with today's guest, who say such Hollywood terms just don't fly in real life, not with real people. Britney uses words like toxic, abusive, violent to describe her relationship with her ex-husband, Jeremy, whom she says uses their 3 children against her. Britney also says Jeremy even moved in another woman, who's also named Britney, to play mother to their children. He has nicknamed both Britneys in his life B1 and B2. You can't make this up. Here is what Britney, her twin sister Brooke, and their mother Sheila have to say about her ex, Jeremy. Take a look.
My ex-husband, Jeremy, was not a good dad, and he was a horrible husband.
Jeremy is a controlling, manipulative narcissist. If Jeremy can't have Britney, nobody can.
In the past, she's always gone back to him because she knew she would not get to see the kids.
This past year, we've been living apart. He's always been able to get me back. Because he hasn't been able to this time, he's pissed off.
My main concern is the kids.
Neither one will hire an attorney to get child support or custody agreed upon.
A little over a year ago, I found out that Jeremy was cheating on me with his now girlfriend, Britney.
This girl lost custody of her only daughter, so now she's trying to raise my grandchildren.
Now he has her living with him, and my kids are in the middle. Britney has told my children that she was not trying to replace their mother, that she was just there to give them motherly love. I don't need her giving them motherly anything.
My relationship has even suffered with my sister because of Jeremy.
Jeremy can't stand seeing me happy, and the minute that he does, he's going to make my life a living hell. Earlier this year, I went to Jeremy's house. He started screaming and cussing and telling me that I made him this way. Then he took out his pistol and shot it in the ceiling. Jeremy made it seem like I was the crazy one, yet he's the one that shot the gun inside his house.
I pray that Brittany will get past the situation with Jeremy and be able to live a normal life.
If we can't get along and co-parent, then Jeremy is going to get the kids to choose him.
Jeremy has brainwashed the middle child, and she doesn't even want a relationship with her mother. They haven't fixed anything in 18 years, and without any legal documentation, they're not going to fix anything on their own.
Okay, I'm glad y'all are here because this sounds like a mess, and
Definitely.
there are children involved here, caught in the crossfire, right?
Yes, sir.
That's your concern.
Yes.
Above everything else. So why is this happening? Why are you involved in this?
Jeremy and I were high school sweethearts, and, you know, we had a child when I was 17.
Okay, and how did it happen? I mean, I know how it happened.
I mean, do you want me to explain?
I don't want the details.
I mean, it was just like, it wasn't like a first date, was it?
No.
It was prom night.
Oh, it was prom night. Okay. And how did it go? How did the relationship go after you had the first child?
He was a very absent father.
So you have a baby that you didn't plan, and he's absent, and you had two more.
They got a divorce.
We got a divorce, and we were separated for about a year and a half.
Oh, my God. And then you came back and had two more.
Jeremy ruins any happiness for Brittany. If she dated anybody or if he thought she might remotely be getting involved with someone and having a healthy relationship, he immediately
gonna do something to sabotage it.
Okay, that's your victim story?
No, that's the truth. Jeremy has always, he's very controlling. He's always made me feel like that I can't and won't be anything without him.
Okay,
His
so that
words
is your victim
are
story. That's what I wanted to know.
useless, worthless, and of no benefit.
So she's letting him control her.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it. So Sheila, what has Jeremy done in the past year to keep tabs on your daughter? Because Brooke's saying that if she starts getting off, getting healthy, getting her feet under her, that he swoops in. What's he done to keep tabs on her?
Well, other than going by her house, going at night after she's went to bed and seeing if he could go out by the window and listen to her conversations. She was dating a guy in Louisiana. He drove down there in the middle of the night, and twice. The second time, he got one of the children and took her and did not tell Brittany. So Brittany wakes up the next morning and doesn't know where her daughter is.
Y'all know about parental abduction, right?
Where we live, they don't go by that. When they were out of school for 17 days, the law did nothing to him.
He dumped your furniture into the yard.
Into my yard. My neighbors called me and said, you have a couch and a bunch of furniture in your yard. And I'm in a $600,000 house, and, you know, it didn't look good.
When things don't go his way, or I couldn't tell you how many times he's changed the locks on the doors and put all of my clothes and shoes and everything out on the front porch.
Okay, so what's your relationship with him now?
I don't really speak to him.
Are you in and out of a relationship with him?
In the past, have we been? Yeah. Have I recently? No. I mean, like, from I was dating someone up until the end of May.
Until he ruined that.
And he gigs you with things like he says that the other Brittany does a better job as a mother than you do.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let me just tell you, the other Brittany has her own child, and she doesn't even have custody. Her mother does.
She doesn't
So
even take care of her own
what
kid.
kind of job she does. She's their friend. That she does their makeup and their hair. She's their friend.
So you don't think much of her?
I have absolutely no respect or anything for her at all.
Well, Jeremy, the man that I guess you could say is caught between two Brittany's, is here, and he says Sheila is two-faced and his ex-wife Brittany is a bad mom who needs God.
Oh, yeah. In the last month, he's
We'll be
found
right
Jesus.
back.
B1 never makes an adult attempt to get the kids from me. B2 is currently staying with us most of the time. She's the honeybee of the hole. B1 raised 9 kinds of hell in front of our daughter. It turned into B1 banging her own face on the concrete.
Monday.
I think that wealthy people can get away with anything. I intentionally murdered my wife.
Not only is Robert saying he killed his wife, he's bragging he can get away with it because he comes from money. You think just because you got money, you can go kill somebody?
The police, they don't like to bring anything big against me.
So did you or did you not murder your wife?
That's Monday. Then on Tuesday.
She says her mother absolutely ruined her wedding.
That's the first time I heard of that.
You're exchanging your vows, and your mother did what?
Woo! Thank you, Jesus! Thank you, Jesus!
That's Tuesday.
Last year, Jeremy was trying to get rid of me and to get me to leave. He knows that the one way to really get to me is to say something bad about me as a mom. So I hit the bill of his hat and knocked it off his head. And when I did that, he stood up and put his hands around my neck and looked me dead in my eyes and said, "I will choke you to death."
Well, Jeremy says his ex-wife, Brittany, whom he calls B1 to avoid mixing her up with his on-again, off-again girlfriend, Brittany, whom he calls B2, failed as a wife. He says B2 is a better housekeeper and a great stepmother. Take a look.
Right now, I feel like I'm caught between two Brittnys. At this point, B1 is ignoring me and will not currently talk to me about our parenting situation at all. Brittany was never taught how to be a good mother because her mother, Sheila, never knew how to be a good mother. And now B1 has become a quitter. B1 has always been a liar. She says she's never had any help from me, but I have paid all of our bills and taken care of everything. B1 never makes an adult attempt to get the kids from me. B2 is currently staying with us most of the time. She's the honeybee of the hole. She keeps it clean, she keeps it together, and you gotta keep some glue on there for it to stick. I will say with B2 in the house right now, I do think it makes a good family unit. The kids are definitely tuned in, and we generally don't have any issues at the house that can't be resolved. One time, B1 insisted that she come over to my house to have a forceful conversation with my middle daughter. B1 raised 9 kinds of hell in front of our daughter. It turned into B1 banging her own face on the concrete. Her mom, Sheila, has seen the surveillance video and does still continue to deny it happened. I have tried everything in my power to try to show B1 that we could possibly work things out. If she is done, she needs to tell me. I do know that B2 would love to be my wife, but I'm not fully over B1. If we can't find a way to work through our issues, I will be with B2.
Well, Jeremy, you've been listening to what we've been talking about so far, right?
Yes, sir.
And you say you're caught between two Brittnys, but it seems to me like you're playing both hands, so you have a soft place to fall, whichever works out.
Mm-hmm. I'll put it like this, because I'm real and I'm honest. Miss Brittany has been fantastic to me.
Wait, who's Miss Brittany?
Miss Brittany is what we call her at our house.
No, it isn't. You just
Y'all
said B2.
call her B1 and B2.
That's a lie.
That's a lie.
Wait,
You call her B1, and your mother calls her
Wait a
B1 and
minute.
B2.
Both of you,
He
stop.
just
said B2
Both?
is currently living with us.
Stop.
That's not true.
Okay, we're gonna get a lot of truth out.
Yep.
Yeah, I bet we do.
Yeah, we are.
So you say you're not over your ex-wife at this point.
I have not completely let go of everything.
He told me last week he would marry her today.
You told somebody last week you've only been married 3 times, so you lied a whole lot. I can dig the dirt out on you, baby.
You're so funny.
I am real
You're
funny.
so funny.
Real and
What
truth
does that
hurts.
have to do
With your
the
children.
kids?
It's about your mentor and how you were raised and
Well,
what is acceptable.
I'm trying to get the dance card here. So she lives with you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
She stays with me.
But you told us that you're not completely over your feelings with your ex-wife.
I have not completely let go of everything. You're right.
And you said that if you can't get this back together, then by default, you would then settle for this other Brittany, but that you don't really love her.
Correct.
I do not love B2, or Miss Brittany, as we call her at home, or if we need to refer to her as B2 here to make sense.
Call her Clyde, I don't care. But you're saying you're not in love with her.
I am not in love with Brittany.
Okay.
No.
Does she know that you two still have something going on between you?
Mm-hmm.
And
she knows that we talk. She knows.
When was the last time the two of you were intimate?
Since she's going to lie about it, and I have sent the text, it was July the 12th, to be exact. July the 12th. I have the date. Let's go on and talk about it, because your mom's really not going to like the fact to know that you drove all the way down to Hattiesburg to pick me up and take me back to your bed. Thank you, ma'am. To stay at your sugar shack. So let's get real, Sheila.
I didn't know.
I know you didn't know.
Well, why are you?
Because she lies to you just like you lie to her, and y'all all lie to each other.
Oh,
So
but
let's
you
get
don't
real
lie.
Let's
You
get
don't
real
lie.
in here.
Yeah, you don't lie.
No, but
I didn't say I was perfect.
Well,
we're
that's a
not
good
either.
thing. So, a month ago, you two slept together.
Yes.
I don't know the exact date. I'm not saying that I haven't slept with him. I've slept with him for 18 years.
Of course. I'm not judging it. I'm just trying to get a sense of what the dynamic is here.
I would say within the past month or two, sure.
Okay. And does this other Brittany know that?
Yes, sir.
And she's okay with that?
Not necessarily okay. She's hurt.
Well, she's here. She's been listening to all this. We'll talk to her when we come back.
Jeremy is the love of my life. When Brittany sinks her claws in and pulls Jeremy back in, he tends to kick me out. I honestly feel like I've just been in a bad love triangle. This past January, Brittany did assault me.
B2 was at my house, and then B1 popped up unannounced to surprise me in the shower.
I was immediately livid because just the thought of her and to see her pisses me off.
She came through that door, threw clothes at me. She started pulling my hair. She grabbed a hold of me, and she just started to slam me down into the concrete.
A week after that, she accused me of stealing leather pants, makeup, and shoes, and the bitch even accused me of stealing 5 pair of her panties.
That's when I decided enough was enough, and I did press charges against Brittany.
Well, Brittany says she's always had a thing for her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Jeremy, since they were in high school. She says Jeremy was going to ask her to prom, but he took his now ex-wife, Brittany, instead. So when Jeremy reached out to her last year, she felt like it was her second chance at love.
For the past year, I honestly feel like I've just been in a bad love triangle. Jeremy had already broken ties with Brittany when we started seeing each other. But when Brittany sinks her claws in and pulls Jeremy back in, he tends to kick me out. Then every time Jeremy reaches out to me, I come back. Jeremy is the love of my life. At this point, Brittany just needs to learn how to co-parent and just back off. Brittany and I are black and white as parents. Since the last school year, Brittany has rarely been involved in her kids' lives. Earlier this year, Seth came to live with us because he was so fed up with being the parent. Brittany honestly did not care what the kids did. A typical day at our house, I usually wake up, start breakfast, begin to pack the girls' lunches, get their bags packed, and he takes them to school. Early evening, we tend to get homework done. We cook dinner. It's bath, teeth brush, bedtime by 9 o'clock. Brittany asked their youngest child what I do with the kids, and that is none of Brittany's business. Jeremy gets bothered when I get angry or upset, because that's all that he ever dealt with whenever he was with Brittany. Right now, I feel like our life is in Brittany's hands, and I am not okay with that.
You've been listening to everything we've been talking about so far.
Yes.
Anything you want to say, since you haven't had a chance to speak yet? I'll let you say anything you want to say to start with.
Just some comments that were made by the opposing party that are not true.
Yeah, well, what's that?
One, information that they don't have a clue about in regards to my daughter.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me?
Finish your story. If you got something to say, say it.
Yeah, just spit it out.
She was mumbling, not her.
And do you have custody of her?
Yes, I do.
She lives with her mom, though. She doesn't take care of her.
Can we not do that?
No, where does the child live?
I'm speaking to him. I don't need you to comment.
I'm a little confused why either or both of you seem to sit around waiting for him to decide what's going to happen in your life.
Because he keeps the kids from me. And it's not that I let him. It's not that I let him.
In all actuality, we both have said that to one another in the past.
You say he holds the children hostage.
Mm-hmm.
You two are divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And in that divorce, was there a custody agreement reached?
Yes, but that does not apply to our situation anymore.
At the time, they only had Seth, I believe.
No, the last custody agreement that we have states that which we don't even live in that house anymore, that the kids would stay in the home at all times, and that I would be with them for 1 week and he would be with them for 1 week.
Okay. And you don't have any custody understanding now?
No.
Why?
Because, I mean, I don't have the money to keep paying lawyers to go to a court.
I'm having to pay for everything. He can get sports cars, but last week I had to spend money getting the school clothes.
You doing and paying
and
for
school
what?
shoes.
Them kids been living with me for 6 months, and I ain't got a penny of child support. I ain't got a dollar.
I will never pay you child support. I'm not your wife.
Are you supposed to pay me child support?
So why your daughter?
You're not
Why
supposed
is
to
your
pay me
daughter
nothing.
not paying him child support when he has been raising those children for 7 years?
I don't think it's none of your damn business.
You don't think it's none of my damn business
No.
whenever I'm in the house taking care of them?
You don't even need to be there.
Really? I don't need
They
to be
need
there.
a mother because they never had
But
one.
wait a minute.
Just
They're
like she never had one.
They're living
You.
in his house, but you're raising them?
I didn't say I was raising them. I'm
You just said that.
help raising them.
Oh, now you're helping? Oh, you know, when you help. Oh, no, I'll have her. I'm going to take her on a little vacation for a couple days. Do they call? Does she text? Does she check on those children?
Let me tell you something,
Go
little
ahead,
lady.
Sheila. Go ahead,
Let me
Sheila.
tell you, well, just shut up and I will.
Shut your mouth and
Don't you talk
not
to me like
speak
that.
that way.
You won't speak to me that way. I'm
Right.
60 years old and I'm a grown adult.
You're a grown adult. Act like one.
Okay,
Act like
he
one.
told me I could take my grandchildren. I'm talking. You told her to hush, so now you let me talk, lady.
Meaning, stop lying.
Shut up and listen to me.
Excuse me?
They're my grandchildren. They're my grandchildren. I asked to take them on one trip this summer. So did I get to take them? No, but he told me I could.
Which was true, and I registered for school.
Well, good for you. I'm glad you're
Okay,
such a
time out,
good person.
Time out. I'm curious.
Okay.
Knowing what you know, and knowing that you're kind of a spare, Brittany, why is that okay with you?
Well, the statement that you made is not true.
I just repeated what he said. Did you tell us that you don't love Brittany?
I'm not in love with Brittany.
Did you tell us that she kind of wormed her way into your house?
There has been times that I have felt as if she doesn't want to leave.
You understand what he's telling us? I'm just telling you so you know. He's telling us he's not in love with you. He's not over her, that you have wormed your way into the house, and so he's just letting you take care of the house and the kids, but that he has no intention of ever marrying you. Or being
Say it like that either. I didn't say that I have no intention of ever marrying her.
Actually, you did.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Mind you, the text messages, the nude photos, even when she was with her previous boyfriend.
Do you want me to show you the nude photos he sent me?
I'm not going to deny
you
that
know
I
about
haven't
those?
reached
Deny
out
it.
to you.
Bet you didn't know about
But
those.
you know what? I never sent trash like that to him once in my life.
Care?
And if that's all you've got to show is your boobs and
I
this
don't
kind of
care.
crap to try to wiggle
No.
him back in,
No.
I'm sorry, that's just low and trash.
Okay, I'm sure there's
Okay.
plenty of husband and
Listen,
wives that...
guys, you're getting off point
You have
here.
not been married for 10 years.
You're
You
getting
can
off
call me
point here.
whatever you want, but
Stop. You're getting off point here, and that's why you never get anything resolved.
Exactly.
I'm trying to ask you, so I understand, what you're willing to settle for.
What do you think that is?
Apparently, you're willing to settle for being on standby.
No, not anymore. He knows that I'm not playing this game anymore.
My team put together a timeline to show all the back and forth between the two Britneys. We'll take a look at that when we come back. You seem to be citing some religious sensitivities.
I do need a little bit more of Christ in my life, and I can assure you it would help somebody else too.
Mm-hmm. Do you recall the passage that said that you are to love your wife as Christ loved the church?
Yes, and to treat him like a queen, and she should treat her husband like a king.
And
right?
when you take the children, a child away for 17 days, or the children, and you don't give information about that and create issues, do you feel like that's reasonable co-parenting? Is that honoring their mother? Is that a reasonable way to behave?
Not at all, but there was definitely circumstances that stipulated up to the situation, and without custody papers, that we had something legal stating that we would share some custody, I was scared to let my children leave the state and not ever see them again.
When we look at what the kids are through, I said we put together a timeline here. When we look at what the kids have been through, you know, there's two versions of this. According to Britney, is above the timeline, and according to Britney, the ex-wife, below the timeline. But in July of 18, you say you were living with Jeremy, and he suggests that you start looking for a place and you can work on the relationship. Mm-hmm. In August, you're living with Jeremy, and Britney, you say you start seeing Jeremy because he says he's cut ties with his ex-wife. But yet there seems to be some overlap here. And then at the end of September, Jeremy changes locks, kicks you out, finds out that he's cheating, has a second phone number, moves in temporarily with your mother, and then the second week of October, Jeremy says he wants to get back with Britney, his ex-wife. He tells you that.
Yes.
Okay. So you move into your own place near Jeremy, and he moves to Georgia and is texting you constantly. Jeremy reaches out to you again.
Yes.
And you visit him in Georgia.
I did go up there to Georgia, yes.
Yeah. And at that time, you start dating a new boyfriend.
No, you back that new boyfriend up a little ways, because she lied, and that slipped in there back before, about October. So look on Bumble and all your dating sites that you advertise for the world.
Then you moved to Georgia.
You're a good investigator?
Britney,
November 11th is
Britney, you moved to Georgia. You moved to Georgia to live with Jeremy.
I did, first week of
No,
Georgia.
I'm going to correct that. She moved to Georgia to take care of my paperwork while I'm doing
business,
storm
yes.
debris cleanup, helping
I
families
worked
in
for
Georgia
him.
get over Hurricane Michael, and I needed someone to help me take care of the
I
book.
worked.
And you
I was
talked
technically
about
an
getting
employee of
married
his.
at that point.
No, we were not talking about getting married. She was putting on Pinterest wedding dresses and wedding rings about her getting married.
In January of this year, you're living with Jeremy in Georgia.
Yes.
And the end of January, you return from Georgia.
Yes.
And then Britney, you say, assaults you.
1 week after we got back, yes.
And Jeremy asks you to leave and spends the night with Britney.
Yes.
And you discover that personal items have been stolen.
3 days later, but the night that happened, she texted me telling me, thank you for my clothes, and the shoes fit perfectly.
And this is when your arms are all bruised up.
That's when she attacked me on the back porch, yes.
Uh-huh. And you're still dating your boyfriend at this point.
Are you still dating your boyfriend at that time?
Uh-huh. This is on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again. And the kids have got to feel like they're just in a hurricane. And that's just not reasonable.
I agree.
Correct.
There is one mature person in this family, and he's not here. It's out of the mouths of babes. We're going to talk to their 18-year-old son, Seth, when we come back.
My mom and dad are toxic. They fought most every night. I had to be the protector for my sisters. My mom and dad are both guilty of being selfish.
In 2013, Jeremy took the kids out of school without telling Brittany.
For 17 days, I didn't know where my kids were, and no one was answering my calls. The truancy officer contacted him and told them if he did not have them in school, that they were going to be coming and arresting him.
She had been threatening to take all 3 of our children and move out of state. At that time, there were no custody papers, so she can take off and run, and there's nothing I can do. Or I can hold them technically. Legally, you can't kidnap your own kids.
Seth says his parents, Jeremy and Brittany, have a lot of bad blood between them based on their history of cheating on each other.
Right now, my family's situation is really messed up. My mom and dad are toxic and lie to each other all the time. I do not want my mom and dad to be together. They fought most every night. I had to be the protector for my sisters. I tried to shield them as much as I could. My mom and dad don't want to see each other succeed in anything. They both try and make it harder on each other.
How do I make it harder on your dad? Because I can name many things that he does to make it harder for me.
My mom and dad are both guilty of being selfish and putting their wants, needs over the family. I've been back at my mom's house for about a month now. I would like to go back to my dad's, but I would feel like I'd be hurting my mom if I left. This has put me in a position of pain, hurt, and confusion. My dad doesn't know how to be happy with my mom, and my dad doesn't know how to love B2. What hurts me is that B2 does everything that my dad could ever imagine needing. I hope my parents can be more adult about their relationship and learn how to put their kids over themselves. The first part with knowing you have a problem is admitting it, and that's their problem. They won't admit that it's themselves doing this to everyone.
Well, Seth, thank you for being here. I'm sorry that you need to be. You've got 2 younger siblings.
Yes, sir.
11 and 9.
Yes, sir.
And you're concerned about their experience in all this, right?
I tried to do what I could, but, you know, I was young and experiencing them fight all the time. I would just do what I could to keep my sisters away.
What do you hope happens?
I hope that they both learn how to be better at communicating together and not trying to make it hard for each other, whether they see that they do or not, because, you know, if they wanted to be together, then they should. If they don't, they need to leave it alone. And, you know, they're and, you know, there was even a discussion that me and him had, me and my dad, about, you know, if it should go on, then we need to do it and try as a family. But if not, it just hurts everyone.
I'm going to excuse everybody except Jeremy and Brittany, who I want to speak to alone. They're the mother and father. I don't want any help. I'm going to excuse everybody but them. When we come back, I want to talk to these 2 about what I think needs to happen here. We'll be right back.
I really do hope me and Brittany can figure out some sort of co-parenting situation. Several years ago, we made a small attempt, I guess, at what you would call bird nesting. It wasn't very successful for us. It mainly comes back to a large issue of trust.
Jeremy and I have also tried what they call soft landing. We lived 8 houses apart. I tried to still involve him in holidays and to do things with the kids, and he refused. If we weren't all together as a family and him and I together, then he wasn't going to do that because that was a lie. I'm not willing to try those things anymore because they don't work.
I want to tell you why you're having so much trouble, if you'd like to know. You got divorced before you were ready. I think people in America get divorced too fast for the wrong reasons. You're not ready to get divorced until you have 0 unfinished emotional business with each other. That's when you're ready to get divorced. You're ready to get divorced when you can say, I've turned over every stone, I've investigated every avenue of rehabilitation for this. I don't have anger, I don't have bitterness, I don't have this unrequited love. I'm like neutral. And y'all never got there. You two need to decide, whatever we do, we're going to do it separately and privately. Keep that compartmentalized from your children.
I agree.
Our children deserve a hero in this situation to come in, and what I want is for you guys to leave here, go home, and those two children, the 11-year-old and 9-year-old, look at each other and say, something happened. Because all of a sudden, they seem calm. And it seems to be all about us instead of all about them.
I want to ask a question.
Please.
Can you please teach me how to do that?
Oh, hell
Because
yeah.
that's why I'm here.
You want your children to be able to walk into a room and come over and sit in your lap and not feel that they're betraying you. Absolutely. You want them to come over and give you a big hug and say, hey, and feel like they're not betraying you. And you've got to resolve that you will never speak ill of their father, that you will never speak ill of their mother. Once that happens, there will be a hush fall over this family, and you'll be able for those kids to say, all of a sudden, we're the most important people in this family.
And I've told our children that. I've even about his girlfriend, I've told them, you have no reason not to like her. I don't want you to do that.
Is that before or after you beat her up?
After.
Be right back. Joining us now is a dear friend of mine, Ann Margaret Carrozza. She is a family attorney who has experience dealing with feuding exes.
Jeremy and Brittany, I think it's imperative that you guys come up with a co-parenting plan. That should be in writing, because when we put something in writing, it guards against faulty recollections or faulty expectations.
All right, and Ann Margaret, talk about 2 or 3 of the items that would be listed in a co-parenting plan, just to give them an idea of the kind of things we're talking about.
So what we want to do is avoid behavior that's going to unnecessarily inflame the other one. I would suggest avoiding social media posts with other boyfriends and girlfriends. I think that we need to agree with each other to never deprive the other one of contact with the children. Keep it civil, and you guys are going to be grandparents one day, and you have it within your control to make every special occasion for these kids miserable because they're afraid of how you're going to react, who's going to show up. Or you can put your feelings on the side. I'm not saying get over them, it's not that easy. Put them on the side, put a smile on your face, and be there for these kids. They deserve it.
I'm gonna get you guys a family counselor that will sit down with the 2 of you and walk you through a co-parenting plan. And y'all can do that. I think you're going to be surprised how much better this can get, how quick.
I'm ready, brother.
All right?
I'm ready.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks so much. I want to thank all my guests today, including attorney Ann Margaret Carrozza. She is author of Love and Money, Protecting Yourself from Angry Exes, Wacky Relatives, Con Artists, and Inner Demons. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to my podcast, Fill in the Blanks. Thanks for being here.
I know that Brittany was lying in several things, such as when she said, I haven't seen Jeremy in a couple months. Yes, ma'am, you have. I feel like she's one-upped me since it has been made. As Phil put it, I'm the spare.
And
didn't feel like there was any reason for her to be here. It's not about her. It was about the kids. Everything that Dr. Phil or anybody said to her, she already knows those things. She doesn't care. She's that desperate that she'll put up with it because he's the love of her life. He walks all over her and she believes she's about as smart as a box of rocks.